Good evening, everyone, and welcome into the iRacing Today radio show for today, which is December the 18th, 2015. Welcome to show number 125, ladies and gentlemen. It is our last show of the year before we take a little bit of a break to recharge and spend time with our families and enjoy the holidays. My name is Trevor Cameron. I am your host, and here beside me, probably, maybe, and hopefully through the rest of the evening, I have Mr. Chad Dalton. How you doing tonight, Chad?
I'm good. It's nice to hear your voice.
I don't know how to take that, but I will take it as positive.
It is positive because a few minutes ago I couldn't hear your voice.
That is true. It is, of course, our final show before we head off into the holiday season. Chad's over there with his same solid look on his face, expressionless face. Well, he looks happy, I guess, on it, on the video portion, but at least he's not giving away anything really. See, I got my ill-fitting Christmas hat on. Chad wouldn't know that because he's not watching the video part of it, but turns out my hat does not fit very well with my headphones, so it's kind of sitting on top of them, but hey, I'm still festive. And I'm sure Chad, even though you can't see him, is probably wearing his Duke Christmas hat anyway, so just imagine that. Look at our last show last year, and then that's probably what it looks like right now, except for in a different house.
Why didn't you crop that picture into the show?
I should have done that, but you know what? I didn't, and now there's no time because we're live and going. So
let's go. So
for our last show of the year, we've of course got a little bit of news for you guys, including one interesting little tidbit that we'll talk about in a minute here. And, of course, we've had some time with the new build, as opposed to last week where we didn't have quite as much time because of, travel and website having issues. And there's been a couple of extra patches come out since then to hopefully address some of those problems. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And we've got some experiences, of course, more on my side. And by more, I mean, other than the build testing stuff, pretty much all me. And cool little gadget that Chad found for you guys that I actually took a look at. And it's like, you know what? That would actually save me some trouble. And that'll make a lot of sense when if you've watched some of my streams and you find out what that little application is all about. And, of course, we've got our homework assignment for the last little bit that we've been asking you guys, and that is the biggest goal before you quit iRacing and your not-so-favorite tracks on iRacing. And we've got a bunch of answers, and we'll go over that stuff as well. So, and of course, not sure if it's coming through on the audio or the video, but if you listen carefully, you can hear my youngest daughter cackling like a maniac upstairs, and I do not know why, but she's fine. She's just having a very, very good time right now, and I'm not sure why, but she's happy, so... But, moving into the news, of course, we've got, they've been talking about system requirements for a little bit here, and, moving up to 64-bit, and our move towards DirectX 11, which is coming soon. And they have mentioned that people are having some problems with the Nürburgring, and that is running, as Dwayne Laprade, a staff member at iRacing, has posted. I will read what he says here. He says, the Nürburgring currently will not run well on 32-bit systems. We are currently working on optimizing the larger tracks to run better on the 32-bit systems, but we do not have an ETA at this time. On 64-bit OS, running 32-bit, move the system way... Okay. Oh, if you're on a 64-bit operating system and you are running in 32-bit for some reason, move the memory slider to 1500 megabytes if you're having issues, and used compressed vertices equals 1 in the renderer.ini file. So apparently if you're on a 64-bit system, Well, run the 64-bit version if you can. The recommended settings are to use a 64-bit OS and the 64-bit version of the simulator. Now, here is the key point in the next sentence. Having said that, there will be a time in the near future, and by time he means March of 2016, so it's like, there'll be a time. Wait, here's the time. March of 2016, when iRacing will no longer support 32-bit systems. So that could be key to some of you people out there. If you are still running a 32-bit version of your operating system, keep in mind that come March, they are not going to be supporting that. So I don't think, I read that to not mean, hey, we're not going to be, developing for, we're not going to be supporting it as far as, tech issues. I read that as if you were running 32-bit, you ain't going to be able to run the sim no more. So you have until then to update your system if you're in that category. They also have a list of updated system requirements that they have updated. So there is a link to that in that forum post, and they do very specifically say 64-bit Windows, 32-bit support ends March 14th. Man, they're sometime in the future, on this exact day, you will no longer be able to use 32-bit systems. So keep that in mind. That could be important and could definitely affect some people out there. So that is that bit out of the way. But it also does kind of indicate, since March 2016 will hit on a build day, and they've been teasing DirectX is coming very soon. So I think if you read between the lines there, that would indicate to me that come March of 2016, we're going to be getting our DirectX 11, which is kind of fitting in with the time frame that they were hoping for, but looks like they've definitely put all into that as well. So hopefully we'll be using DirectX 11 come then, and hopefully I'm going to upgrade my video system or video card and stuff before then. Maybe it handles everything fine now, but it gives me some problems while streaming, and hey, I want to make it look all pretty, because I had to make it look slightly ugly to do my streaming stuff, and that makes me sad. And I don't like being sad, so.
It's not fun.
No, it's not. Being sad is unfun, some might say. That's what I would say. It's probably slightly inaccurate, because it's, really downplaying the, the situation, but, I'm good with it. In other news, Setup Analyzer, which we have mentioned on the show before. Both Chad and I have used this particular program. Then, excuse me, the Setup Analyzer, sorry, lost my train of thought there, is a good program that both me, Chad, and I have used in the past, and apparently it is now for sale. Now, by for sale, I don't mean that you can actually buy it, because you always could. However, apparently, Mark Montanari, which I believe I'm saying that correctly, is deciding to sell the software rights and the source code. So I guess he is getting out of the gig, and he is selling it for, and get your pocketbooks ready, ladies and gentlemen, $50,000 US, but he says he will consider any reasonable offer. He has a program or a notice up on his website. So that means that if you want to take over that program and continue support for it and continue its development, then here is your opportunity to do so. Now, if you, I don't have the coin for that sort of thing, but maybe some young entrepreneurial software developer has and wants to continue on the fine work that Mark has begun, because it is an excellent program and very helpful. But like I said, both Chad and I have used it in the past, and we've definitely very much liked it. So
I likes it. Now, what upsets me about all this is that here I've been for, the last 2 years, haven't been able to use the program because of that Microsoft.NET frame stupid error that I kept getting.
Yep.
Finally fix it, and guess what?
Yeah. So now that everything's great, well, sorry, we're not going to be supporting it any further. But
Yeah.
and it's still, usable in its current state, so it's not like it's, all of a sudden going to stop working. It's just not going to be developed any further at this point in time, which of course will affect, when new tracks are released and that sort of thing, because, it takes all of that into consideration. I mean, it takes your data around a track. You load in what car you're using, what track you're using, all that good stuff, and it analyzes everything that's happened from the track data that you provide it. So I'm guessing new tracks would not be supported, and that would, obviously slowly dwindle its usefulness at that point in time.
Yeah, and dynamic tracks are going to keep changing too, so that'll probably really hurt it as well.
Oh yeah, I never even thought of that. Yeah, that probably actually has a large effect on that as well. Because I think a part of that was you put in the temperature and all that good stuff, but the track changing over time, that would be something that he probably doesn't take into consideration as well. So, interesting.
Interesting.
Isn't it though? Now these show notes are kind of all over the place, aren't they?
Yes, but I will pick up where you left off and tell you guys a couple of tidying up things, I guess, if you will. If you happen to be watching our show live, then you should be able to see on iRacingTodayRadio.com, which is hopefully where all of you are watching it live, if you happen to be watching it live, that page will always remain as the splash page, no matter how many times you leave and go back to it. What's funny is that, of course, we didn't do the show live last week, but after our last live show a couple weeks ago, I actually fixed the problem almost immediately after we were done. It was really simple. So anyways, that shouldn't be a problem moving forward. So do continue to go to iRacingTodayRadio.com when we are live, and of course we'll announce that pre-show so that you know. And watch it and hang out in the chat and chat with us. So anyways, just wanted to mention that. And then we've also done a little bit more work on our website with the About Us page. Changed it up a little bit, although it's not done. So you'll have to go back to it eventually. But everything is done except for having a couple of pictures of us, and then which I could already have the pictures up because the picture I have of Trevor looks really cool.
Oh dear.
I've not found a picture of me yet that looks cool because I have a ginormous head in all of the videos. So I'm gonna try to, because see, all I'm doing is screen capturing this from video. So I found a nice picture where you was smiling and you look very nice. But me, on the other hand, I was just like a large, ginormous head, and I didn't want that. So anyways, once I get that squared away, sometime in the next couple of weeks, those will be on there. And then if I can ever get Trevor to send me a picture of his sim rig, then we're going to have pictures of our sim rigs on there too. So
that is my intention. However, I mean, right now, like I said, I could take a picture right now, but man,
yeah,
this place looks lived in. I'll tell you that much. Yeah.
Well, that's probably good. So anyways, we're just doing various little tweaks, if you will, to our website. Not complete overhauls. There we go.
Oprah Hall. You get an overhaul, and you get an overhaul, and you get an overhaul.
Everybody gets one. No real overhauls of it, I guess, but just some updates to make things cooler and more functional, I guess, for you guys. And in other news, I have still not gotten all of my iFlag stuff, but the rest of the things, parts, pieces, whatever, that are coming from overseas. So unless they can somehow shoot them into outer space and land them on the ISS, and it flies around the world in an hour and a half, and it could drop them exactly in the exact location of my house, I don't expect to get them anytime soon. So...
Well, plus, I mean, you said it was very windy where you're at, so even if they did shoot it down from space, it's probably going to be blown off track anyway. So
probably, along with the rest of my house and myself, probably as well. And also, a little bit of interesting news. There's a league that some of us are participating in. This is not experiences or anything. It's just kind of a news item that's personal to me. There's a league that races it's actually an Australian-based league, and it uses the V8. A few of our teammates race, obviously the ones that live in Australia, and Roy, Brenton, and William. But Dean Mole has also started participating in it. He does not live in Australia, he lives in the States. And the interesting thing is that the races go off in the States on Tuesday morning. It's either at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. We haven't really figured out which one it is yet, but we'll figure it out one day. So this coming Tuesday is actually the first race. So I signed up because I figured, well, hey, this would be fun. I like the V8 and I want to see if I can, get my phone or my hotspot to work with it. And at the same time, I'm off for the next 2 weeks. I'm officially on Christmas break, so no work, so I can get up and do it and don't have to worry about, being done by a certain point to go to work. And so, but now the problem is that I've almost used up all of my data. So for this month, and it resets next week. So the race that is in like 4 days, I am not going to make because of the whole data thing. Not even going to attempt it.
Well, I mean, you could just take apart your entire rig, take it all back over to your parents' place, set it all back up again. I mean, it's really a no-brainer when you think about it. I mean, you're on holidays. You got time.
Yeah, that's true. So while I'm not doing that, I'm going to be waiting until the next week, which is when all my data will be reset, and then I'll give it a shot. But, it's just a one-time thing because I won't really be doing it like at all, but it's worth a shot just to see how it goes. So, and it'd be kind of cool to check out the league because you never know, one day maybe I might work it out to where I could actually race in it more than just a couple of times. Now, that's all of the personal news. Moving back into stuff that kind of goes along with what Trevor was talking about. A couple of quick hit items here. There is a program that you can download for free. I think it has its own dedicated website, but I was looking at the iRacerstuff.com website that we've mentioned several times on the show, and that's where I found it. And some of you may already use this. I have not actually personally used it yet because I have not had a chance to download it, but I would like to try it and see how it works. But apparently it works pretty cool. So basically, the program is called iApp Starter. And it is a utility program that starts other applications whenever iRacing is launched. It can also close the applications once iRacing shuts down. So it's pretty useful from what I can tell just by reading some of it. So basically, if you have things like trading paints or iSpeed, or I would even guess TeamSpeak maybe might be one you could do. Just various programs like that, or Z1 Dashboard in Trevor and I's case.
Yeah.
You could use this program and list all of those that I just mentioned in this. And basically, as soon as you click on Race Now or whatever on iRacing, it will throw all of these programs open. So if you're one of those people that forgets to turn things on, like maybe Trevor,
Forgetting to put it on Z1 Dashboard half the bloody time.
yes, this would probably come in handy for you.
Yeah, that's what I meant by, because people who watch my streams will know that at least half of the streams I've done in the winter series, the very first thing I say is, well, I forgot to turn on Z1 Dashboard, so I don't know what the fuel situation is.
Yep, so this might come in handy.
Yeah, actually, I wasn't aware of it when you brought it up to me. And I looked at it, it's like, that was the first thing that popped in my head. I will never forget to open up Z1 Dashboard again.
Yes. So I think I'm going to try to download this and see how it works. And I think both of us are going to do that. So we'll report back.
Yep.
And let you guys know what we think. But it looks like a pretty neat program. And like I said, it's free and pretty simple to use. So I don't think it would be overly complicated to get going.
No, just a simple little program that to kind of help you out when, well, especially when I'm streaming a race. I have a tendency to forget stuff because I usually get down at the last possible moment. It's like, okay, well now start this up. Okay, do the chat thing and then this thing and then that thing and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I got to log into the race and it's like, oh wait, I forgot to do half the things I needed to do. Oops,
So. Moving right along, and we'll put the link in the show notes so that you guys have quick access to it, but it's also on iRacerstuff.com under the apps and downloads link part
thing
of the website, majigger. Another thing that a person put up in the forums, and his name, and I hope that I pronounce his last name correctly because I'm not sure if I'm going to or not, but his name is Thomas Moti, maybe?
I'd say Moti or Moiti.
Moti, yeah, that'd be a good one. Anyways, but he has created a little website which is called iRacing Week Planner. And this seems like a very cool website just from what I've explored with it. Basically, it is just a schedule, essentially, for every series, officially that, and even unofficially, I guess, that is on iRacing, and you have full customization. And the cool thing about it is that he breaks it down by day. So you can go like December 18th, which is today, of course, December the 19th, which is today for some people in the world. And you can also filter things and then save said filter so that, you always come back to what you want to see. So you can set it to your favorite tracks, the cars that you own, the tracks that you own, your favorite series to race in, your favorite cars, or, one or the other kind of thing. Like I said, you can do unofficial, official series, open setup, fixed setup, and you can also change between oval and road and every license level. And it is very, very neat little program. He developed at least this is what he said in his forum post, that he developed it, wow, for his own self, and then he figured, well, maybe somebody else could find some usefulness out of it. He says that I always find it awkward to use the website to figure out what I'm going to race the next week based on what content I've got and what I'm filling. So I built this. It takes some of the data from the site and presents it in a nice, easy to read package with some neat filtering features. So I think it could be a very helpful website for some of y'all.
Yep, and that website, and I will mention it because the website address, at least the last part of it, is my favorite part of this, and it is iRacing-week-planner.tmo.lol. I didn't know you could do that, but yeah.
We should have done iRacing Today Radio.lol.
See, if I knew you could,
Yeah.
But so anyway, we'll put a link in the show notes, obviously, as well for that. But that's a pretty cool little tool. Being able to, like I said, especially for those who aren't in the 100% club, who are looking at saying, okay, well, aren't necessarily racing a series. They're just saying, what's fun this week, kind of thing. And there's plenty of you out there who race in that fashion as well. So
yes.
Excuse me. All right. So that covers that. That covers that. The only other thing here, before we get into our build thoughts, let's see. The Masters of Endurance apparently is taking a season off. The season that is currently started. Just letting everybody know, we've mentioned them before on the show. The NEO, is that what does that stand for? I can't remember. Do you recall?
I don't remember off the top of my head. It's something weird.
I'm guessing the E probably stands for endurance.
How do you know?
Well, because it's an endurance league, I believe, because there's Master of Endurance and there's Neo, which is, anyway.
How do you know it stands for endurance? I mean, what if it doesn't?
I don't know. I'm just going on the notes that you gave me, man, so, Apparently they are still, the Neo is still having a season here, but Masters of Endurance is taking a season off. So, just so you guys know, I know we mentioned those leagues before here on the show, so if you are participating in any of those, know that Master of Endurance is taking a 3-month break from doing league racing stuff, and that happens a lot with a lot of leagues where they'll just take time off, maybe reevaluate some rules and policies and stuff, and kind of come back strong, kind of thing. So
the Nile and Eagle organization apparently is what it stands for.
Okay, so that's I never would have guessed that.
Nope. Now, before you read that next item, we would like to mention that the iRacing Pro Race of Champions was this past Wednesday, and that, of course, was the 5th annual one that they've had. And it was pretty cool as normal. There were some wrecks, there was some good hard racing, and there was one guy that dominated. But there was another cool story that came out of it. And that is the fact that Mr. Sam Schmidt got to race in the iRacing Pro Race of Champions. For those of you that have no clue who he is, he was involved in a terrible accident. I think it was about 15 years ago. And he is paralyzed in both his legs and his arms. And between CXC Simulations and iRacing and some other companies that I don't know off the top of my head, they all worked together and they gave him an opportunity to compete in his first actual competitive race, even though it was on iRacing. But it was still his first competitive race, and apparently since his crash. And he basically just used his head to drive the car. And it was very, very neat to see that technology and to actually watch him participate. And I don't know the exact position he finished in, but I think he beat about 7 or 8 cars, and they interviewed him on the stream afterwards. And I think he had the line, and I'm not quoting it exactly, but I think he said something along the lines of, you know, those 8 guys got beat by a guy with no legs and no arms. So he was in pretty good spirits about that, and you could just tell on the look on his face that he was super excited about that opportunity, and it put a smile on my face. It was really neat to see Sam have a chance to get out there and do that.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, who don't follow IndyCar, Sam Schmidt is a co-owner of Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports. They race in the IndyCar series. Currently, their drivers are James Hinchcliffe, a fellow Canadian, and James Jakes as well. Well, I bet he's the only Canadian in the series.
You just had to toss that in there.
I did, but it's always cool to see him at the track. Like he is like really, really involved in everything that goes on there. So you always see him on all the broadcasts and everything. So so that's pretty cool that Sam got to go out there and do that. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. One, I will mention that last item there, and then we'll head up into the build stuff. And that is your next homework assignment before we talk about the one that we gave you guys that we're going to talk about in a little bit. And we would like to, this was kind of it was, what's the word I'm looking for? Not supported. It was, there's a word that says you saw something and you said it did something to make you think something. Wow, the words have fallen out of my head. But this idea came from our interview with Glenn that we did a couple weeks ago, and also the fact that we're updating the About Me page. But we would like you guys to send us a picture of your cockpit and your racing setup by the 1st of February, so we can talk about it on the show. And the idea is we're going to have a live show that week, and we will show those pictures on the video stream. So if you don't watch the video portion of the show normally, there will be a reason to pick that out. I'll have to figure something out for the audio portion to make it not sound like, hey, and here's this thing, look at that. So the audio portion may be significantly different than the video portion of the show that week. We haven't figured out the logistics yet, but that's not your concern. The concern is you guys. Inspired. Thank you, Danny.
Wow, that was random.
That was the word. I don't know. I just could not think of it. But anyway, send us out a picture of your setup, and maybe a quick little write up about what you're racing, and your specs and on your computer, or anything interesting about the setup that you're doing. I mean, we saw what Glenn was racing and what he was able to accomplish, and that was pretty cool to talk about. Especially his idea of, I don't know, I need somewhere to put my gear shifter. Have another chair. That works.
Who needs to sit there? I mean, just rest my gear shifter there.
See, it's I mean, don't mistake it for a chair at the wrong time, or that could get very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But
Yes, it's very.
It's like not only if I shift it into the wrong gear, my butt hurts. I mean, so
yes.
So send that out to us through the normal channels. The best one for that would obviously be our feedback address, which is feedback@iracingtoday.radio.com. So send those in, or I mean, you could tweet them to us or whatever. But email for this sort of thing, I think, would be the best way to do it. So Send those in, please, and thank you, and we'll show them off on the February show, our first show of the month of February. So our like third, fourth show of the year, give or take. So, talking about the build, we talked a lot about how things had gone wrong with the builds, and since that time, they have released a couple of patches to the system, although they haven't worked everything out, I'll tell you that much, because half the time I can see stats on the website and half the time I can't. I know that's not necessarily part of the patch, but it's part of the infrastructure stuff they're doing in the background with the website. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Today, actually, as of this moment, or just before we start recording, iRacing had another brain fart because I was trying to look stuff up and it was sending me to the web. It looked like the page that they normally have when they're in the middle of a build, iRacing is offline, but it wasn't quite that. It just basically said, I don't know, this website's having problems. Click your back button, or maybe click here. I don't know. I'm paraphrasing. But, so obviously they haven't got everything quite worked out. Because I went and it's like, oh, I'll bring up my results so I can, I'll have them available. And it's like, and iRacing went, so they are still working through some stuff apparently. So for full disclosure, it does not actually make that noise when you hit the button. So don't go there and go, where's
F5, F5. Where's the sound? Come on, why
I have my volume turned right up. Yeah, where's my Popcorn FX? I am disappointed. But anyway, so the first release notes were from December the 14th. They released the first patch for it. The first key component was the draw car first option is disabled for now due to some potential problems. So the first thing they said was, all right, we gave you this thing. It's really cool. Please don't use it because it's bad. Things go bad. Don't use it. So,
and you know what? We're just going to take it away.
Yeah, so, the first patch is like, you know what? Some of you were trying to use it, so.
You disobeyed the rules that we set forth. Hereby, on December the 8th, we told you, use this feature. On December the 9th, we told you not to use this feature. And on December the 14th, we removed it from you.
It's like, you know what? You cannot be trusted. We are taking this away. We're taking the ball, and we're going home. You don't listen.
Goodbye.
So, they also mentioned they fixed a bug in the vertex compression that caused at least one car to appear dented and may have been responsible for some serious issues. I don't even know what, like, did they just pick one car at random?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
You're just driving around, all of a sudden there's one car that looks like it's been through a car masher, just driving around, and it's just sending all that data to everybody and just causing everything to crash.
How's that car even still driving? Looks terrible. But yet it's winning the race. Speaking of Popcorn FX, they fixed a bug in the particle system that may have caused missing particles, crashes, or hangs, especially at the Nürburgring.
Especially at the Nürburgring, because there's so much place to particle crash or hang at the Nürburgring. So
you can hang off the side of that mountain after you crash into particles.
as long as you can see your two past trees, man, that's all that's important.
Your two past trees and your popcorn, as long as you get that. They also fixed some PBR shader issues with the Aston Martin, so hopefully there's no more issues there. Everybody's all on good speaking terms.
Let's see, and then a couple little minor tweaks to some cars. We won't go through it all. Apparently they had some issue with the chassis torsion on the cars that we mentioned that they had the chassis torsion. Apparently they chassis torsioned them too much because a lot of the vehicles say fine tune the chassis torsion to be a little softer. We're gonna torsion these chassis, but you know what? We don't want to. We still want to be friends. We don't want to hurt the chassis that much, so we're gonna be a little bit softer about it. And they did that for a bunch of stuff and added in some setups. Couple other things, but the main car that got some adjustments was the new F1 car, the MP430, and yeah, there's a lot of words and acronyms in this sentence, so I'll just read it. Added new assignable controls to the sim for use with this car. peak brake bias, diff preload, MGU-K regen gain, MGU-K deploy mode toggle, MGU-K deploy fixed, and MGU-K deploy adaptive.
Now, here's what I get out of this. After you have your particles crash and you're hanging off the side of the mountain, you're probably going to want to check your MGUK.
Well, and you want your regen gain to be at the proper level, so you don't want to gain
Now,
at an improper level.
MGUK deploy mode toggle just sounds like you're trying to deploy a parachute when you crash off the side of the mountain. Or if you're hanging there. That's what I get out of that. So I think that's important. And then your MGUK deploy fixed, I think, is where you safely land on the ground. And your MGUK deploy adaptive, changes with the flow of the land. I don't know.
But I mean, I'm curious about that because these are. I haven't had much time in the car yet. Like I have taken it for a couple laps just to see what it felt like and sounded like and everything. But these seem like things that should have been in there when they actually released the car. So that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
They've also renamed push to pass control to push to pass / overtake since it operates the overtake function on this car. And then, of course, deploy mode is added to the wheel display. Example, A03 means adaptive mode, setting 3. F06 means fixed mode, setting 6. Obviously. If you don't know what your F06 mode means, get out of the car.
Yeah, you should not have a license to drive it. I like this. The deployment rate of the MGUK can now be configured by the driver. Well, that's good.
Yeah,
I would hate for my crew chief to have done that.
Yes,
engineer.
Like I said, those just seem like a lot of I don't know. Just it seems like stuff that should have been there already. But and then the very last line in that is fix several issues with the MGUK deployment. It's like, why didn't you just say that?
I know.
That basically covers everything you just talked about.
Here's everything. Oh, by the way, we fixed it. I also like that the shift lights for the RPMs for the Logitech G27 wheels have been properly tuned for this car. So when you were barely getting up to speed, instead of it flashing red because you'd reached your max RPMs, it is now actually, doing its correct RPM thing.
And as Danny mentions out in the chat, MGUK, we do know what this is, but he does point out, hey guys, enough joking around. It's the motor generator unit - kinetic. We actually did know that, but it's more fun to make fun of it. Bring some seriousness into it, but yeah. Well, actually, we'll get to that in a minute because we're going to talk about our build impressions and stuff. But the other thing that I thought was interesting about that is they replaced the baseline setup with the high downforce setup rather than the medium downforce setup. So I'm guessing a lot of people just said, well, let's just put the baseline in because I don't know how to set this up. And we're probably not taking corners well. So they said, all right, here's all the downforce. So you're going to be going slow as heck, but at least you'll probably make the corners. Maybe.
They did the same thing to the Star Mazda as well. With the baseline setup to high downforce setup. One of the things that I thought was cool is the Nürburgring fixed a curb across from the North-Life pit lane that was incorrectly marked as pit lane. So it's like, no, pit lane's over there. No, but it's over here. No, it's over there.
It's like, wait, I've hit the curb. Nope, you are now in pit lane. What? Just this one section right here.
It's like, I wasn't in pit lane. You are speeding in pit lane. Black flag. Please pit. Now I have to drive all the way around the racetrack just to pit for something that's not even pit road.
Yeah, well, and I'll get to my first experiences with the Nürburgring as well, which kind of speaks into that a little bit as well. But anyway, so that was the release on the 14th of December, and then there was a smaller patch release on the 16th, or at least smaller as far as the number of stuff that they touched and changed. And that was, let's see, they said, as far as the sim goes, fixed an issue that reduced the maximum number of car positions transmitted to you by the server, causing fewer than the actual number of cars to be displayed. Holy crap! Okay.
It's like, I don't know. The thing says there's only 10 cars out here, but there's really like 35.
Yeah, I actually did see several people actually mentioning this in the forum specifically to replays. There was one guy that had actually mentioned they were watching a replay of a league race, and the cars, he would see all the cars, and as they would, I think it was enter into turn one, I don't remember what the track was, they would enter into turn one, as soon as they did that, they would all disappear, and then they would all reappear exiting turn two. So there was just this one area that was just invisible. So that must have made for one messed up looking replay.
Yep.
Especially if like an incident happened in there, like the cars go into turn one and like just smoke and fire comes out of turn two.
There's cars everywhere. Like, whoa, I don't know what happened there, but I'm not going in that turn.
I don't know what happened in there, but I'm glad I couldn't see that, man, because that looks bad.
I'm not driving in that turn.
That's it. I'm parking it.
I'm parking my car and I'm going home.
Oh.
One of my favorite ones out of this was the opponent cars fix, which is fix an issue where the tires of an opponent's car would wobble, causing smoke. I can just picture now, a bunch of guys in a line just going straight down the straightaway, and there's just smoke everywhere. It's like, what the heck is going on?
It's like, did nobody bring their air guns today, and they all just finger tightened on the wheels?
I wish I could have seen that. As soon as I read that, that was one of those where, again, we had our.
Yep.
I had a moment where I was like, why can't they tell us before they fix it?
We have got to talk to Tony and get an arrangement set up. If you're going to fix something that looks silly, tell us first.
I would have loved to have seen that.
Let's see. Other than that, they made a few changes to some of the cars, some gear options for the Cup cars.
At Atlanta specifically.
Yeah, just at Atlanta. You can have different gear ratios at Atlanta because, hey, wait a second, you were going faster than we thought, and everybody's going tick, 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 halfway down the front straight, I guess. That's the noise.
I can't go any faster. Push the pedal down harder. I told you I can't go any faster.
It's pushed down as far as it'll go, man. I don't know. And there were some rendering changes in there as well. One, I guess, would affect you directly because it says improve the level of detail selection of the track surfaces for very wide fields of view in 3-screen mode. Previously, the side monitors could render distant portions of the track at a higher level of detail than necessary, so chewing up your frame rate unnecessarily. So,
yeah, I guess that's a good one.
Yep.
I haven't seen it take effect yet.
Although that, okay, yeah, I'll talk again. Talking note for when we get there, but that was, and there was, like I said, there's a couple other things you can read up on them if you wish. Danny just mentioned paint the car like the van from Cheech and Chong, and then have the smoke happening with the wobbling wheels. Cheech and Chong. One time we thought they were funny. I don't understand why. I did, but then I said, wait, hold on. They were never funny. Because I went back to them. I went and watched one of their movies, and it's like, okay then. I must have been an idiot. But, anyway, not speaking of idiots, speaking of the new build. We've had some chance to try some of the features and stuff.
We've had some chance.
We've had some chance. Well, well, we did. We had some chance.
We've had some chance out there. We just didn't capitalize on them.
Yeah. But anyway, we've had a chance to go out and try some of the new build stuff, and me specifically, where I hadn't even had it, downloaded last time we did a show. But let's see. One thing I will say, the new smoke, that's the thing that just popped into my head. That is deadly in the fact that it's great as far as realism goes, but man, like when I was racing the races at Phoenix, there was a lot of people having problems with the cars and self-spinning off on the exit of the corners. And coming out of that last corner onto the front straight, a lot of people would lose it if you clip the apron and stuff. And it was double deadly because they'd turn and they'd spin. They'd cause a crap ton of smoke. Like, it looks way better than the smoke ever did. but it would also like cut my frame rate in half. So I'm trying to figure out where the car is, trying to figure out where I have to, what line I have to take in order to avoid it, plus worry about the cars around me. And also, my frame rate's only 30. So it was, it made for some difficult crash avoidances, I'll tell you that much. It looks great, but like I said, wow, it tanked my frame rate. I mean, but it reminded me a lot more of what you see when you watch a NASCAR race. I mean, these were Indy cars that I saw it in, but when they show the in-car camera that's a couple cars back from an accident or a spin or whatever, and all of a sudden they're driving, and all of a sudden just smoke. Because it never was quite like that. Like the smoke was a little bit too wispy, I guess, in the old model. But man, there was times like I could not see the car in there. Like I had no idea. Like there was just smoke from one end because they'd spin out to the outside wall and they'd spin towards the inside wall, and it was just a wall of smoke. It's like somewhere's in here there is a car. I hope it's not where I'm driving. But so that was that's my first impression on the build is that. Second impression was the fact that I actually finally got to go out and try Nürburgring. As I mentioned, it's kind of cool for me because I didn't do a lot of other racing games, or at least the style of the Forzas and Gran Turismos and ones that would have had this track in it before. My main racing experiences before this was the IndyCar simulation games way back when, and then the NASCAR from all basically the Papyrus ones, which I don't know if Grand Prix Legends had the Nürburgring in it, but I never actually got that one. But the NASCAR ones and the IndyCar ones I didn't, obviously. So I don't have a lot of experience with this track anyway. So it's kind of cool that I get to see it through the eyes of a rookie, and then I get to see what is, I'm going to say arguably, based on everything we know about the company, the best rendition of the track. So it's kind of cool to to go out and experience it all for the first time. And man, my first lesson was I went out on the tourist farting one, and the first thing I did was speed on pit road, because you know what, that pit road lasts a while.
Yep.
Because and it's like I get out, it's like, okay, I've made my little left turn, and I'm going out. It's like, and I start speeding up. It's like black flag pops up. It's like, what do you mean? I'm looking. It's like, oh, I'm still supposed to be doing 25 here. Oh dear. Back to the pits, and then then I finally saw the cones. It's like, oh, and it's also, and that configuration is kind of cool as well, because you do the lap, and again, this is me from not understanding this track and how it all works, but you do the lap, and then that section around the pits, even out on the track, you still have to slow down to pit road speed, which makes for a really, really weird visual, because as you're driving into it, all of a sudden cars just boom right on the brakes, and then people are just doing 25 down the middle of the track. And then they speed up, and then people are coming in from the pits, and that pit lane just kind of, because you're doing pit lane speed, like I nailed a guy coming out of the pits because he was coming out and I was doing 25, and there was a couple of cars around him, so I was just kind of off to the right, and then the pit lane just kind of ends, and then he had nowhere to go. I oblivious. It was my own fault. It's like I had no idea he was even there. It was just a practice session, so it didn't really matter. But all of a sudden, boom, he slams into the side of me because he ran out of pit lane. It's like, oh, all right, I got to stick a little bit more left apparently coming down here, because that never occurred to me. But that track is like, how do you ever memorize that? Like, there's so much track, and a lot of those corners are blind. Like, I mean, you're coming, with so, like we were talking about before, like so many elevation changes. And then the one thing that, like, I literally laughed out loud. I'm driving around the corner, okay, taking it kind of slow, and, okay, I can take this at speed, now I have to slow down for this. Then you come around one corner, and then there's this corner that just has banking in it, like out of nowhere. And I literally burst out laughing. It's like, what the hell? Like, after the rest of the track just is normal road, road course, and all of a sudden it's like you come around, it's like, oh, and now there's bank, but only on half of it. Like, the other half is kind of flat, and then there's just this one little pit of banking. It's like,
yep.
Like, well, you got me there. I didn't see that coming. It looks beautiful. I mean, I know that. I mean, like driving down some of the big straight stretches, a lot of times I would slow down, and it was just, like I said, it was just a practice session, or I think this was even when I was just doing it on my own anyway. So it was just just me out there. I just slowed right down, and I'm just looking, looking, oh, the mountain over there, and the this over here, and it's like just so much to see, and I don't even have all the graphic options turned up because I don't want to kill my frame rate because of the streaming and stuff. So it wasn't even as beautiful as it could be, but man, I mean, and the first car I took out there, of course, was the Indy car, my current new favorite car, and that's fun because it's nice and zippy going around there. And then of course they've got the heavier cars, the GT3 cars, going out there for their the series that I was doing the practice session in, and man, that's not nearly as zippy. The GT3 cars are they're not like a V8, like they're not that heavy, but compared to taking the Indy car around there, where you can kind of make up for, oh, I should have slowed down more for this corner a lot quicker. Those cars you can't as much. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of, oh, now I'm in the grass. Oh dear. Oh, if there's a place to fall off a cliff somewhere here, I'm gonna find it. But anyway, that was my first experience at Nürburgring. Why don't you talk about some stuff there? Because I've been talking for a bunch, man. Yeah.
Oh, I was enjoying it. Yeah, my after the first patch was released, I actually got on to play around with the new build a little bit, and I ended up somehow getting sucked into driving the Cup car at Bristol for a long time.
How do you get sucked into that? You love that combination.
Well, I mean, like I was originally just gonna play with some of the graphic options that, and some of the app.ini file things that changed, and I did all that. Like I went through, cleared out my setups, cleared out different things, and went through the entire app file, and was actually going through it to look at some things we could mention in our new segment we're going to start next year. But then also was changing some things, and so I was going to go into to Bristol to just make sure that I had everything all set and ready to go. And I was like, well, I'll just take like a 10 lap, just for the fun of it, and then I'll go race the Nürburgring or something. And then that 10 laps turned into 46 laps, and I thought, okay, I should stop now. And so I thought, well, I'll just do one of those, test runs at a green flag pit stop, and I completely missed pit road, which was a good thing because I ended up actually just going to the front straightaway, and I thought, oh yeah, they got that new smoke thing, so I just started doing a burnout just to try it, and it looked really cool. Kind of like you, it got pretty smoky in there, and couldn't really see much. But the one thing that came out of that I didn't even think about until I was in the middle of doing the burnout and heard it was backfires.
Ah.
And it actually backfired about 4 times during my burnout before I just quit doing it and left. But wow, that was cool. Like at first I thought, oh crap, is my sound dying? And because it was like
crackle, crackle, crackle.
And I was like, what is that? And then I figured out, pretty quickly that it was the backfire. So those sound really cool. And that was kind of the first time that I got to hear that. So anyways, after I did that, I went somewhere, and I think I went to the North Life configuration. And I've been using the McLaren. No, back up. I am wrong on this. I actually took the McLaren MP430, the new Formula One car, to Road America after I did my Bristol thing, because I wanted to try that car on a track that I had already participated in something at, where, I mean, I've been to the Nürburgring before, but obviously not on iRacing. So I wanted to try that car out somewhere where I'd been. And so I just went to Road America, and I didn't run very many laps, maybe 10 at the most, but wow. Like,
yeah, I was just saying, because I did the same thing, by the way. I took the same car combination, so continue.
Okay, here's the thing. When I talked to you guys last week about how I really liked the McLaren, and then I couldn't wait to get into racing it at some point. Well, after I drove at Road America, I really can't wait to get into it, Like, I don't know what you're going to think about it, Trevor, but I fell in love with the car because I went around there and it felt like I had been driving the McLaren MP430 for 10 decades. Like, I mean, it was like I was the most comfortable person ever. And all I was doing was just loading the baseline setup. That's all I've ever done. Like, I haven't ever played with a setup, haven't, done any of this DRS stuff or, any of that stuff. All I'm doing is just loading the baseline, jumping on the racetrack, and driving the car because I can't race it right now. So I don't really care necessarily about my lap times. And running it around Road America was so much fun. It just, I don't even really know what words to use, but it just made me realize that I can't wait to get my internet situation done so I can go jump in that car and go play with it because I had a big smile on my face when I was doing that at Road America. And then, like I said, I only ran about 10 laps. I got in a really nice rhythm and actually was running what I thought was pretty good lap times, although I have no clue how they would compare. But I I did eventually crash. It was the last lap I ran. That was the first crash that I've ever had in the car, and it was kind of weird. But it also led to something else, which I guess, for lack of better words, I'll call it new crash sounds.
Hmm.
It almost sounds like something hitting a wall now, which is probably pretty accurate because that's what I did. But I don't know even not really know how to describe the sound, but it actually sounds like something making contact with something in that would be in a race car and it's like braking or something. So it was kind of neat to crash into the wall, the barrier there at Road America. But the weird thing is that because I was running the baseline setup, I think I kind of come out of the turns and I put this video on Twitter and I ran off the road a little bit and I don't know if it messed up the car or not, but I went into that quick right hander after that big long carousel, I guess.
Yep.
And the car before I got to the turn bottomed out and the sparks flew, so I got to see the popcorn effects on that one. And then I kind of went up on the curve and then I came off the curve and the car bottomed out again. And that caused me to kind of lose control. And then I tried to correct it. And then it turned into, even though I don't think I did this, but it turned into overcorrect mode and it just went straight to the left and spun into the wall. So it was kind of an interesting crash. But so then I just quit out and was done. And the last thing that I've done since last show was I went back in the McLaren MP430 because I'm just in love with the car right now, and took it to the Nürburgring on the Nordschleife Life or whatever configuration. And because I was almost positive that that's the configuration that I have prior experience on. I had raced this track on, I think it was Need for Speed, maybe, and then of course Gran Turismo. And but it's been like, gosh, like 10 years or something. It's been like forever since I've driven it. And what was weird is that when I went out there and started running, like part of that configuration was in the one that I ran the other day, which was the 24H one, I think. And so I kind of, remembered it from that configuration. But when I started doing this configuration, because I kept all this time, I've been trying to remember when I ran it several years ago on the other games. And I was trying to remember things. And there were like certain turns that I remember, like the turn Trevor just laughed about the banking only on half the track. Like I remembered that one. And I remember the first time that I drove the Nürburgring on iRacing, I was just looking for that turn. I was like, I know that's here somewhere. Where is it? And but on this, I think this configuration was the one that I've driven because as odd as this may sound, as many years as it's been, I started remembering it as I was going because I was remember, okay, there's like a long downhill here and then there's like this really sharp turn that you got to like stop for. And, I would remember those things, not very well, but, well enough that I was kind of putting bits and pieces, together as I was going around. And I crashed a little bit more in this because this time I was trying to actually like really go all out. Like beforehand, I was trying to go all out, but not as hardcore. And this time I was like, let's just go for it, and see how fast I can go. But I've really gotten in. I actually did a full lap and then recorded it with my phone. And I wish Twitter would let you upload a 7-minute video.
Hmm.
But I uploaded a couple of parts of it last night. It's just like the first video that I uploaded is where I'm going down the hill there, and it's you don't really like there's kind of half turns. You don't really turn, so to speak.
Hmm.
You basically go straight down the hill, but the track kind of curves. And that part of the racetrack, I don't know why this is, but driving the McLaren and going down that hill and the amount of speed that you carry down that hill, and then you've got like a kind of a decently high speed left-handed turn, and then you have to slow down for a right-hander at the end of that. For some reason, that part of the track is my favorite part because I feel like a real, well, not McLaren, but a real Formula One driver. Like anytime that I've watched Formula One, you can see the speed and you can almost like see how the driver is just like planted in the car because of all the G forces in it. It just and they're kind of bobbing around, like their heads kind of moving because maybe some bumps or whatever,
Hmm.
and the way the forces are, and like I just get that image of what that would be like, and that kind of carried over to that part of the track in the McLaren for me for some reason. It just feels like realistic to me, because I'm like flying, and I'm like in the mercy of the car, so to speak. But I don't know, it's just fun, and like I've I really love that combination. I don't know why. I just think it's so much fun. Like I haven't driven anything else at the Nürburgring. I've only driven the new Formula One car, and I love it. Like I just love doing it. It's fun.
Hmm. Yeah, my first experience. Now, mind you, I only did a couple laps, so well, even kind of. I don't know if I finished it, but I took the MP 430 or no MP. Anyway, the new F1 car. I can't remember the order of the numbers, but when I took it out on Road America, it was not good. I crashed that car a lot, and it's like I know this course, and I was struggling with control on the with that vehicle, trying to find where the line was between too fast and not fast enough, and the fact that it went from like there wasn't a gradual RPM increase. It was kind of it's like, okay, hit the gas, and it's like, okay, and now, oh, you're all the way up. Oh, you're all the way up. Oh, you're all the way up. It's like, wait, I don't even know what gear I'm supposed to be in. But yeah, I definitely want to take some more time in that car to kind of flesh it out and experience, what it's like, and hopefully all my IndyCar experience is going to tie over to it as well. But it's my first experiences with it were not an instant comfort zone. We'll put it that way. It was definitely a I got some work to do kind of feeling. I was kind of hoping, because I'd had such luck there with the IndyCar, I was so comfortable there that would kind of translate over. Totally didn't, but it will take some time. It will. Maybe I'll give it some. Like I said, it was one of those times I had only gotten on just in time to test a few things here and there, so I didn't dedicate a lot of time to it. So
Yeah. Well, to me, like I drove the what is now the old Formula One car in iRacing, the Williams Toyota, and I drove it in some practice sessions, like not just by myself, and actually tried to learn it some. Didn't put in like a ton of time, but raced at a couple different tracks, tried to learn it some. But for some reason, that car never felt, and I mean, I guess realistic to me. Not that it wasn't, but it just like I don't know how to put this, but it was like I didn't feel comfortable, I guess. And then I got in this one, and it's just like, bam, instantly. I was like, oh yeah, I've been doing this. I know what I'm doing. Like I don't know what the difference is, but for some reason I just feel at home in this one versus the old one.
yeah, I mean, like I said, I definitely am going to take some more time with it to kind of experience it as well. The one thing I did mention about my time with the Nürburgring is my very first thought on the very first lap I took was, hey, man, this would be so cool to do in my street car. Like I could see how much fun it would be to just be kind of going and just driving around this thing, not at breakneck speed, by any means, but like just to take a quote unquote Sunday drive, at reasonable speed around this thing would just be so much bloody fun, And I love the signs on it, it's like 5 kilometers, and looking, it's like, wow, I've been driving forever and I'm only gone 5 clicks. That's awesome. Feels like I've been on this course forever.
Funny story. I actually showed my coworker the video I did last night of my time in the McLaren at the track, and he knows the track. He's a race fan. I was just showing it to him, and one of my other coworkers popped in, and he doesn't really follow racing, and he was kind of watching. He was like, "Oh, is that game thing you play?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, I was telling him about the track and the car, and I was like, "This is like one of the most famous tracks in the world, and it's huge." And he was like, "Oh, wow." And I was like, "Yeah, it's like a 12-mile long track." And I don't think that totally clicked with him when I said it until he had watched about 3 minutes of the video. And I was like, "I'm not even halfway done yet." And he's like, "You're not?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean, this is like, I mean, you're almost to halfway home at this point." He's like, "How big is this track?" It's like, "It's pretty big."
Yeah, goes on for a long time. Good luck memorizing that.
Yeah.
But, excuse me. Let's see. As far as the build goes, the only thing that I think I can comment on, well, actually, 2 things. One is the sound. They mentioned that they changed the sound when stuff was kind of hitting your car. Go off track, and you're got some gravel or some grass or whatnot, and I don't know. The sound is simplistic, I guess, but it sounds really cool. Like, I mean, when you go off track and then you're hearing those, the little rocks hitting your undercarriage that are being shot up by your wheels, like that sound. I don't know. It sounded really immersive to me. Like, it was just really cool to just kind of have that. I know, I've gone off track. I think I did it when at Canada Corner at Road America in the McLaren, and just to hear those rocks coming up and hitting the car, I don't know, it was really cool. Like, I really like that new sound to it. The other thing was Southern National Motorsports Park. I took a few laps around there. See, and that's something. So, you jumped into the McLaren and, instantly felt at home. I just grabbed a late model, grabbed the setup that they had for that, and I was instantly transported back to my STPC days. Like I just got into a rhythm like instantly going around that track in the late model. It was it was really cool. And on top of that, then I took some slower laps and just kind of looking around, and I don't know, it just hit that nostalgia trigger in my brain for because I mean, when I first started iRacing, I did a lot of short track racing. Like, that was my bread and butter for quite some time, when I first started out. And I haven't gone back to it for, a long time. But it just hit that trigger in my brain, and it was just, I don't know. I really like the look of that track. Like, that is a really cool track. And it was, like I said, I was instantly in a rhythm, just doing laps. It was cool to just jump out there, and I then, of course, did some slow laps and, looking at all the details and the little dents in the wall and, all the little attention to detail kind of things and stuff. But, yeah, that's a cool course. That is a really cool course.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the few laps that I have there as well. It's a very cool track. I want to do a race there. I did do a couple of races when Five Flag Speedway came out. I love that track as well. But unfortunately, with my current situation, can't really race this one. So I can't wait to go out there and do that. That's like you were saying though, driving slow and checking out all the detail. That's what I want to do next with the Nürburgring. I just want to
just set aside an entire day.
Yeah, just take out a whole day and just cruise. Probably get like the Skip Barber, so there's like nothing blocking my view, and I can just see everything.
Yep.
And just kind of go 15 miles an hour.
Yep. If I thought about that too. Like, that's that's the kind of track that you just cruise around and just enjoy the experience. Put some tunes on and just
Dude, what did you call it earlier? Do the tourist fart one?
Yeah, the tourist in Fratten.
Yeah, do that one and be a tourist. Put on some sunglasses, maybe a Hawaiian lei over you, and maybe a Hawaiian shirt, and look like a tourist.
Yeah. Camera around around your
Yeah,
neck,
yeah. Stop
snapping
and take a
pictures.
picture.
Where's the get out of car button, so you can just walk around.
Well, no, they need those outlook areas, where you can pull off to the side of the road and look over.
Yeah, see,
Mhm.
to our, the signs on the road, tourist attraction,
Mhm.
half mile on the left kind of thing, just pull off and look over the horizon and,
Now, here's the thing. We talked about how we needed to do Bathurst
hmm,
in our show fundraises. And I made the suggestion, even though it's impossible to do on the sim, but I still made the suggestion that half of us should go one way and the other half should go the other way. Now, substitute Bathurst for the Nürburgring
hmm.
with the same plan. Now, that would be cool because you wouldn't have a clue where anybody was going to be.
No, and then and we'd have to have it set up so you could use those whatever they call them, the part
Yeah, the
way
reset things.
reset
Yeah.
pit stalls or whatever, so you could jump out. That freaked me out the first time I did it. Like I smashed the car up, and obviously, and I look, and all of a sudden I start, reset the car, and it's like I'm in this just off to the side of the road on this, almost looks like a place where a cop would hide with a speed gun kind of thing. It's like, what am I doing here? It's like, oh yeah, right. you know, but yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, as far as the build goes, I think that's about it for the experiences. The As far as the new tire model on the IndyCar, I mean, I'll talk about my experiences here in a minute, but I didn't have any problems adjusting to that. I couldn't even tell you what the difference was specifically.
Yeah.
But it certainly didn't. It didn't derail me. It wasn't all of a sudden a brand new car, I guess. So I was pleased with that because I was kind of thinking, I've spent all this time getting, quote unquote good at this car, and then they change everything. But it certainly was not that experience at all, which was good. That made me happy. But yeah, I think that's about it for build experiences. I mean, I've had some IndyCar races, but mostly it was the Southern National, the F1 car, and the Nürburgring. That's the only setup I've done is the tourist one is the only setup I've actually driven some laps at. And by some laps I mean like maybe, I don't know, 3. It takes forever. I mean, and not knowing the course, of course. So I can't do it fast.
And no one can talk to a horse, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for me as well. I've just, haven't really done anything.
All right. Moving on to experiences, and I'm not going to be too detailed on some of this, but there are a couple key points I would like to hit. I've had three races since last we spoke. One was the race at Spa, and obviously these are all Winter Series races. The race at Spa, I was nervous about because I'd been away all that week, and the new build had come out, and I just gotten in. They changed the tire model on the car. Didn't have any practice. I know Spa, but I don't know Spa in this car. So I was a bit nervous going into that race, but looking at the times, I knew for my split, I was in decent shape. Like I wasn't, when I was getting good laps in, I was okay. And the fact that I knew I was only going to have like one chance at a race, probably, I didn't want to do the old, transform into old Trevor and say, well, I haven't had a lot of practice, so I'm just going to start from the back, because, I knew that wasn't going to lead to a good finish, or at least a decent finish. So I went and qualified, and I'd love to bring up the results right now, but it's iRacing's we're having our on-again, off-again relationship about being able to pull up results, and right now we're in the off-again stage. But I'm fairly certain I qualified 3rd, if I remember correctly. So I was feeling pretty good, a little nervous about that. But as far as the race itself goes, like I said, it's a longish show. I don't want to get into a lot of details, but it was and it was also a long time ago, man. It was like over a week ago, man. I can't remember that far. but it was a good race. I mean, like it was. I was going out there, and not only was I competitive, but like I mean, I don't remember how many instant points I had, but I was worried about that because, like I mentioned before last week, there's a lot of places to get non-damaging 1Xs, like stuff that you're not really going off track, but you're leaving the track surface, you're getting that 1X, and there's a couple of corners that are really easy to do that. So I didn't have that many of those because I was worried because I did a lot of that during practice. And just raced my race. And the Z1 dashboard really helped out with that because it's such a big track. Planning your track position is important. So one of the features of the Z1 dashboard is you can bring up a track map, and it will show you generally where you'll end up after you pit. It takes into consideration, pit road speed, all that good stuff. So it actually, and it shows where all the other cars are. So I was planning my pit stops. It's a 2 pit stop race. So I was planning my pit stops, not necessarily when, run the tank dry or going as fast, as far as I could. There was one time, I kind of was behind a guy. I was faster than him, but not fast enough to really pass and run away from him. Like we were comparable, but it was affecting my laps. So it was getting close to my pit stop. So I looked, and it's like, okay, well, based on it says when I come out of my pits, I'm actually going to be in complete open space, like nobody around me. It's like, so I decided to short pit, and played a lot more strategy than I normally do when it comes to these races. So planned my pits out like that. Ended up falling back, I think, 5th, 6th. I think I might have been as far back as 10th at some point in time. But played the strategy, was passing some cars, was actually faster than a lot of cars out there. And then once the final pit cycle played through, I was sitting in 3rd position, and there were only 3 of us left on the lead lap. Like the guy who won the race was, like, he was just in a different zone. Like he was super, super fast. Like we couldn't even touch him. But there's another. I think the guy's name was Kevin. I don't think he's a listener of the show, but he actually found my YouTube channel because he found one of the races I had streamed he was in, because he's at a similar I rating than me. So he actually found me through the YouTube channel. So I talked to him for a bit, and he was in 2nd position. So I was chasing him down, and I found that at the end of the race, like the last, I don't know what it was, 5 laps, whatever, he was like 8 seconds ahead of me, and I was pushing it, trying to get, to catch him, and I made a few mistakes, a couple little minor offs, so I ended up just backing it off because I knew the only way I was going to catch him is if he made a mistake, and I was seeing myself creating mistakes by trying to push it. So I didn't back off. I just went on to my normal pace, and just rode the race out. But like I said, in the end, finished in 3rd position. Was super, super pumped about that. Like if you watch the stream, you will see how happy and ecstatic I was that I got a podium finish out of that. Like that's my first podium. That's I've had some top 5s, but that was the first top 3 finish I've had in the series, and at a bloody road course. I mean, go back a year. Who would have ever thought that would be me going out and getting a top 3 on a road course in Spa, which is a pretty challenging course.
Yeah.
So I was super, super pumped about that. Like I said, it all came down to just racing my race and not making that many mistakes, and then playing a couple strategy calls. Where, like I said, short pitting because I knew it would get me into open air on the other end of the pit stop kind of thing. And that was fun. Like I said, I was looking forward to Spa to begin with. When I mentioned last week, and it did not disappoint. That car combination with that was so much fun, and to be so fast and competitive there was just an amazing feeling. Like I was so pumped after that race to get that 3rd place finish. So that was a good points night for me. And then this week we went to Phoenix, the old version of Phoenix. And, well, let's see. It is in Arizona, but iRacing specifically set the state, or at least Phoenix, on fire for this. And the track temperatures were off the charts, like the hottest track temperatures I've had. And it was funny, like when I first started practicing, I couldn't even turn a lap. Like I said on Twitter, it's like I'm toast. I mean, I got in, just put in the iRacing setup just because, I didn't have anything else at the time. And if I touched the gas, I spun. If I turned the wheel, I spun. And I will tell you, it is very hard to race a racetrack on an oval course if you cannot turn the wheel or hit the gas. And but somebody in the forums was nice enough to share a setup. I don't know if it was a change of me or whatnot, but I mean the setup certainly felt way better than the iRacing default setup. The temperatures were, the first race I think was track temp was 120. So, now, glad I wasn't doing that for real. Because imagine that, 140 laps around Phoenix at 120 degree track temperature, like you'd melt. I mean, I have to lose a few pounds, so that would probably have helped me out. I probably would have died in the process, but I probably would have sweated out at least 10 pounds, I imagine. So, but, all right, so, yeah. I'm not going to go a lot into the actual races per se, but there were two very specific incidents in both the races that I do want to address. The IndyCar, especially when it comes to oval racing, and if you watch the actual IndyCar racing as well, it plays out there in the fact that these are cars that there has to be a give and take. Like, these aren't NASCARs where you barrel into the corners, and if you rub fenders or whatever, then it's not a big deal. But in these cars, and especially with the aero changes and stuff, like, you have to trust the guys that you're passing. Like, even when you're passing them, you have to have that level of trust. And I was racing the first race. I was racing a pretty good race. Like, I was competitive. I led some laps, like, for real. I was playing a different pit strategy, so that got me into the lead for a while. And when I was in the lead, like, I ran away from the pack. Like, I was in the lead and gone for a while because they had the clean air. Also, that track combination, even with the high temperatures, super fun. Like, that is a fun track to race in the IndyCar. But so I led some laps, had good racing. I was racing in, I think at the time, I was top 10 for sure. I can't remember if I was 6th, 7th, somewhere's in that range. Actually, no. Sorry. I was in 5th position. I remember now because the guy I was racing with was in 4th position. And it was fun. It was so fun because I was going up, setting up passes, and passing people. I mean, I know it's just basic racing, but that's different. And I guess I will preface a lot of this with saying a light bulb clicked inside my head this week with those two races, and I've changed in the way that I'm racing now. Like, I have gone away from the style that I used to have, where I'll race out there, wait for some attrition, wait for whatever, and do the best I can, stay out of trouble. If anybody catches me, let them pass me. Like, don't push anything. Like, that confidence level has changed drastically in the way that I'm racing these cars now with my experience in the IndyCar. And I'm going out there and I'm expecting top fives, and I'm expecting to have good runs, and I'm expecting to go out there and pass people, and I'm expecting to use strategy to try to get track position, and I'm expecting to be faster than a lot of the guys in those races and go out there and race them down and pass them. And that is different. Like, it clicked this week. Like, between Spa and Phoenix, I'm becoming not a bad racer. I mean, for as much as we joke and we have fun with, obviously Chad's is a much better racer on in the sim than I am, but we always joke about how I'm not that great, but you know what? I think I'm getting pretty good. And that kind of led to this situation because I'd actually passed a couple people. Like, one guy had actually said, words I'd never heard on the sim before. Hey, Trevor, I'm holding you up. Why don't you pass me here on the inside? It's like, wait, what?
Could you repeat that?
Wait, hold on. Let me turn the microphone on.
That in the text chat.
I need to record this. But then I got behind this one guy, the guy who was racing in 4th position, and I was definitely faster than him. But it can be hard to pass in the IndyCar, and you get a run, and just because you can get a run doesn't mean you can pass somebody, because you get that, that pull with the arrow. But he was driving rather erratically, like he wasn't really holding a steady line, like he wasn't making it easy to pass. And the thing is, you go into those corners, and if you're down low, and that was the other thing too, is like not only was I passing people, I was passing people on different lines. Like I would pass some people down low if that's what the situation called for. I was passing people on the outside. Like some of the passes on the outside, I was both terrified and excited all at the same time, because I'd get the run, I'd see them, they'd left the top lane open, and there's not as much grip up there, and most of my lane normally was to come down to the apron and then kind of wash out to the wall on the exit. So I'd have to pull a different line, and I'd have to pull a different speed through there, but I was passing people on the outside, and it was exhilarating, man, I tell you. But this one guy, like he wasn't holding a steady line. He was definitely holding me up. Actually, one of the guys behind me, because some of the guys I'd passed were now catching back up to me, and one of the guys even came on the chat and said, hey Trevor, you having trouble passing? Like it's like you can't get by this guy. So I tried and I tried and I tried to set this guy up, and this was fourth position. I was in fifth, and the leaders had gone. Like when I wasn't in this situation, I was sticking with the leaders. Like I had a shot at winning this race, but this guy was slower than them, and he was holding me back. And I was trying all kinds of different moves to set this guy up for the pass, and I couldn't quite do it. And the fact that he was being erratic, kind of also messed me up as well. And then I set up the move, and it was perfect. He went down low, and I had the top lane, and I had the momentum. This was into turn one, and it's like, okay, I got him. I got beside him. I had position on him, and I held the top lane. I did everything right, and then he washed up and took me out. And up to today, that was probably the maddest I've ever been on iRacing. Because I knew I had a legitimate, shot at winning this race, and if not that, a legitimate shot at a decent finish. And I needed a decent finish because that Division 8 is really heating up between Mark Egelbrod, I think his name is, and Josh Matlock. Between the three of us, like that's a fight. Like when I hold that championship, that virtual championship trophy up at the end of this season, I'm going to know I earned it. So, just saying. But so I mean, he washed up, and it's funny, you watch me on the stream, you can watch the frustration set in once, and my car was toast. Like I, pulled in, too much damage, we're done. And, I pulled in, I started typing something in the chat, stopped myself. It's like, you know what? No, okay, breathe. Looked at the replay. It didn't look malicious. I didn't protest or anything. It looked like he went into the lane, needed to slow down a lot more. Being trapped down on the inside didn't bother. Swept up the track, took me out, and kept going. That's the worst part. But man, I was so frustrated. Like I was so just deflated after that. It's like, man, because I was having a great race, and was pretty excited about my position or my chances for a finish in that one. So, and then actually as I'm going there, and I watch, and then as I'm watching the replay, I heard caution's out because I'm still in the sim, and I went back to look at the caution, and he did it to somebody else too. Mm-hmm. Not in exactly the same spot, but it was the same situation. Buddy got position on him, he didn't hold his line, washed up, took them out. It's like, that's what I mean. Like if you're going to pull off that pass on the outside, you have to have the trust of the guy on the inside that they're going to hold their line and they're going to realize they have to adjust. And like I said, I don't think the guy meant anything malicious. It was a simple fact of he didn't understand or didn't have the racecraft to know that he had to make an adjustment because of his positioning. Like there were plenty of times I got down there and I went through that corner slower because I knew I needed to hold, the line. And, he just didn't. So it was racing, But man, was I was frustrated. Like I said, closest I came to swearing on a stream, I think, was there. Or yeah, I mentioned the previous time, like that was the closest I ever came to to not swearing or to swearing while I was on a stream. Well, that beat it. Like I came super duper close. So I ended up with a crappy finish at 25 points. Had to repeat that race again, but it was okay because now I was going in with some confidence as well. So I raced today. Didn't stream it because it was kind of a last minute. Okay, wait, don't know if everything's going to line up. Okay, everything's lined up. Jump in the car, kind of thing. With the family and the kids and stuff. So jumped into a race this afternoon, and again, I qualified. That other race when I actually qualified, I think I qualified in third. I think it was second or third. Anyways, right towards the front of the pack is where I actually qualified for that the first race. This race I qualified seventh, I think it was. So it was definitely a faster pack of guys. A little bit cooler on the track temperature, but it was funny. Like in practice, I couldn't hold the car. Like it was the grip is non-existent. But once I got into the race, I just got into a rhythm, and everything was fine. This race, strategy killed me because we had a lot of cautions in the previous one. Because it is a tough track if you're not careful because of the track temperature, because the lack of grip really had an effect. So I was expecting a lot of cautions because we had a lot of cautions in the last one, and this one didn't go that way. So we had a early-ish caution. I decided not to pit for track position. Several people did pit, but not everybody. And as it turned out, we went green through the cycle. So I ended up getting a lap down because of that when I had to pit for fuel. And boy, did I cut that close. Like I'm literally like 3 pit stalls away, and the car started sputtering on me. So I could not have planned that more perfect. But so I got trapped a lap down, and then the caution. Then there was a caution, so ended up getting trapped there. Couldn't get the wave around because everybody was on a different strategy, so not everybody who was on the lead lap pitted. So got trapped, which was frustrating because, again, I was definitely competitive in that, I probably was only about a top 5 car with that group of guys. Like, it was a faster group of guys than I had the night before. But, so nevertheless, trapped a lap down, ended up, and here's where it gets frustrating. Because of the way the pit stops fell, I ended up being way back in traffic, and I was in like 13th or something like that. Now, I raced my way back up to 7th or 8th, I think it was, but because I was back behind some lap cars, I was a lap car myself, but only 1 lap down, but I was with some multiple lap car down cars, and there was one car out there. Ironically, it was the 5 car in both races. I guess I have a thing against 5 cars, the 5 car. But this one guy, he had a bad connection, so his car was blinking and doing that thing where it goes into the corner and it looks like he hits every wall, puts up big puffs of smoke, and then reappears somewheres on the track. And almost every corner he was doing this, so getting close to him was scary because you never knew where the car really was. And I was way faster than him. He was multiple laps down and would not get out of the way. Again, one of those things where, is it the lap car's job to get out of your way? No, it is your job to pass him safely. There's some courtesies that go, with that as well, being a lap car. But it wasn't so much that he wasn't, pulling over and getting him away because I'm a faster guy. It was the fact that he was racing all over the place, taking away my my line a lot. Like he chopped my nose several times. Like I was pulling up on him, and like I swear there was inches between me and him because I was getting super frustrated with the guy. So I was pulling right up on him. I will admit it. I was trying to spook the guy out of my way. I didn't have a bumper, so I tried to scare him out of my way because he would not move. And then, like he would go into a corner. I'd get position on him. Like I was beside him. I had position. but he wouldn't let off. So now he took away, my exit of the corner for no reason. Like I said, multiple laps down, kept hanging out there. So it compromised my exit, so I couldn't get by him. Because at one time, I had position on him, and he chopped down on me, and I had to get on the brakes or else he was going to take me out. And I was so mad. Like, I've talked about, my heart pounding out of my chest because, I'm, in these stressful situations. Like, I was so mad. Like, I could literally feel my heart beating in my chest because this guy would not get out of my way. And, of course, I'm losing so much time, because of this. And, because up to that, I was, like, actually right on the leader and keeping up with him. So I was waiting for my opportunity to perhaps, get that lap back and then, maybe salvage a better finish out of the race. But, and like I said, just taking my line and that's what, like I said, that trust thing. I knew I could not trust to push this guy into a corner because he was going wherever he wanted. Did not matter what other cars were out there. And like I said, and throw onto that as well the fact that it looked like he was crashing every corner. That'll stress you out. Like I actually got on the mic a couple times. Like, 5 car, you're blinking. We don't know where you are. You're multiple laps down. Please, I didn't get mad at that point. Please get out of the way. Please move. Please, let me by here. And like nothing. And then there was the time, like I said, I actually had position on him. He came down and chopped onto me, and I had to take evasive action or he would have taken me out. And at that point in time, while I did not swear, I did get on the mic and it's like, come on, 5, quit it. And I was mad. But, so frustrated. Anyway, in the end, got away from him. They ended up, I did eventually pass them. I did eventually get by them, like, legitimately. But I tell you, if this was a stock car, like this was a NASCAR series, and a car that had, I don't know, fenders and and front and rear bumpers, about after like 15 laps of this, I would have, with a smile on my face and without any sense of remorse, had no problem with moving that dude out of my way. If I had a bumper, he was in the wall. I actually thought about the couple times I got position on him, wheel on wheel, and pushing him out into the wall. Like, I legitimately thought if I knew I could get away with it without damaging my car, I totally would have done that. Like, that's how frustrated I was with this guy. And that's, I guess my point is, it's like if you are a lapped car, sure, race your race. But if a guy who's, laps ahead of you gets position, that's when you give up. You do not push that issue. Don't get out of the way. That's not your problem. And there's a line there. You know what I mean? Like, it's a line between being, moving out of the way, or if a guy legitimately has position on you, you back off. That's what you do. And this guy totally, I was so mad. Dude, you have no, I'm glad I didn't stream it, but I kind of wish I did, because I would like to have seen the fire in my eyes. Like, that a lot has changed in me, because, like I said, that's not the old Trevor where I'd give up position. I would do whatever, I'm just here to get my laps in and get as best a finish as I can. No, I'm going out there and I guess part of that is also, thanks to Mark and Josh to a degree. Like, they're pushing me that I need to get these good finishes, and it's important to me. It is legitimately important to me that I get these points and these finishes. So, in the end, I think I finished in 7th. I think it was. Got some decent points. If I can get another race in tomorrow morning, I'm going to try it. But it was. But like I said, after I thought about it later, those 3 races, it just, a light bulb, went off, and just saying, you know what, you are not the same racer that, started this podcast. Like, something's changed. I'm different now, man.
You've matured.
And it feels good. Like I said, like, going out there and just setting up passes, and I guess it's that difference where I'm expecting it. I am expecting good finishes out, of these races, as opposed to, let's see what I can get. Like, that's a big difference in my mental approach to these races, and it feels good, man. I'll tell you, it feels good. I mean, now I lost some points to the guys around me this week. Josh had a good race. Mark had a couple of really good races. So I've lost, some position. I'm still in the lead, but I've lost some position. And where do we go next week? Oh, well, a track we're going to talk about a little bit later on. We are going to Laguna Seca, what could be classified as my least favorite track on the sim. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how new Trevor handles track he's not good at.
I say a win.
You know what? I don't know, man. If I can figure out that bloody corkscrew, I think I'll be okay. I mean, I know the track. Like, I am really familiar with the track, but I just don't like it, and I'm not good at it. But, I don't think I've tried it in the IndyCar, and, it's... I'm getting very comfortable with driving that car around road courses nowadays, so we'll see. But anyway, that was my experiences. So I'm still in the lead of Division 8, although that lead is dwindling. Like I said, Mark had some really good races this week. He had a couple of second-place finishes, got some really good points. So he's caught up to me a bunch. And Josh, I think, had a second-place finish as well this week. I don't know how many points he got, but he's catching up. He's still, a big gap because he has less races, but, when it all shakes out, he's going to definitely be competing for the championship in that division. So I think at the end it's going to be, me, Mark, and Josh. We'll have to figure out what the order is when the dust settles. Man, that was my experiences are getting a lot more entertaining.
Yes, they are.
But
I'm not sure I want to race with you anymore. It'd make you all angry and kill me.
Man, again, you have no idea. Man, I was so mad. I was so mad at that guy. It was, yeah. Like the red mist was definitely coming down over the eyes. It's like if I knew of a safe way to take a dude out in an IndyCar, I would have done it. I mean, it wasn't just me.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it wasn't just me. Like he was in everybody's way. Like everybody was having issues with him. I just happened to be stuck behind him for like 15, 20 laps that cost me a bunch of time. But he was, and then apparently got damaged at some point in time, and then was still doing laps at like I don't know, probably 5 seconds slower than everybody else, and it's only a 20-second lap. So like was in the way for the rest of the race as well, and just wouldn't get out of the way. It was like ugh. So anyway, you were saying.
I was just going to give you a rookie tip. The easiest way to get around someone that's being a pain like that is to blow their engine with your mind.
Use my Jedi mind trick. I'm becoming a much better racer.
You be gone.
I don't have that skill yet.
Yeah, that's the more advanced level. So maybe one day, grasshopper.
All right, so to finish out this show, this shorter show, because we don't have a lot to talk about, as if, but it is our last show of the year. So I mean, we got to give the guys something to to go out with. We
did that last week.
Fair enough. This will not be as long as last week, but we will finish off the night with your guys' answers and ours to the 2 questions we asked you guys, and that was your least favorite track, and of course your goals before leaving iRacing. What is it you want to accomplish? So I've been talking for a bunch. Why don't you get us started off there, Chad?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to read all of these. To make up for lost time. No, I'm just kidding.
I had a lot on my chest, man.
Obviously. So yeah, we're going to start with the not so favorite track answers that everybody sent in, and we appreciate everyone sending all of these in. We've got quite a few of the non-tracks to read. So we will start with Mr. Clay W. Don't know his last name, just came in as W.
W.
So, Clay W. His number 1 track that he does not particularly enjoy is Oxford, although he does put in parentheses that he would not mind watching an Oxford 250, which is a very famous short track race, in case you didn't know. But if driving it like on the sim in real life, or if it compares to real life, then he is going to leave his car at home. His number 2 track which is I question this one a little bit. I mean, come on, haters gonna hate. But he does not like Langley, and then he puts in parentheses. Apparently, he likes banking, so he would probably be a big fan of that one turn at Nürburgring.
Be driving around, ooh wee.
Yeah, like there's 170 turns of pure hatred. Oh, but there's one that's really cool. His third track is Monza. He does say in parentheses, love the oval, but can't seem to make a lap on the road course. I'm kind of with him on that one. The fourth track is Gateway. He thought that he would really like it, but for some reason he doesn't. Again, needs more banking.
Needs more banking.
Yeah. Fifth is Sonoma. And then he says, I've watched NASCAR and IndyCar a bunch here. And like most road courses with elevation changes, but I'm not that great at it. And he just tries to have fun. He also says that he dislikes Concord because my Pocono mojo doesn't seem to transfer over. So that was a bonus, not favorite track.
I mean, if you're good at one triangle, you should be good at all triangles. But sometimes
it's just like you should be good at all these ovals as well. But what do I know? I'll go ahead and read the next couple just because, I want to keep the talking going here. Roby came in and said that his least favorite tracks, and Roby is just a list and get out of here, man.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of which, and I won't say it here because, I don't want to elicit any extra traffic to Roby, but I believe you're friends with him on Steam.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did you notice what he changed his username to? If you haven't,
no,
you should.
I haven't been online since I moved.
Next time you're on Steam, check to see what Roby changed his username to on there.
Can you just tell me?
I'll tell you after the show. I don't want to give it out online.
Anyways, his least favorite tracks are number 1, Sonoma. So Sonoma's on 2 lists there. Number 2 is New Hampshire. Gotta disagree with him on that one. Number 3 is Sebring. Number 4 is Phoenix. Number 5 is Suzuka. So those are Roby's 5 tracks. Jeff McPherson, who Twitter told me to follow the other day, his favorite or non-favorite tracks rather is Circuit of the Americas, and then he explains no risk and reward. You have to work really hard to hit anything solid. Do like the section after turn 1 to turn 9, but if you get it wrong, there is nothing to hit. Might just as well be in a car park. His second least favorite track is Indy Road Course version of Indy. They had a blank. I love this explanation.
Yes.
They had a blank canvas and came out with a kart track. The above 2 tracks are tracks I hate. The other 3 I merely dislike because I am bad at them. Number 3 is Barber. Another street track with its lack of straights. Number 4 is Laguna Sega, so give him some Trevor love there. Just always seemed too slippery. And number 5, for the 3rd straight time, is Sonoma. What is up with people in Sonoma?
They don't like it, man.
Man, he says it just seems like a track with very few obvious overtaking points. I think it's a good track for a track day, but a poor racetrack overall. So, I don't know. We got to have a little chat. Next fun races are going to Sonoma. You people need to learn to like this track.
I said we'll go to Laguna Seca, which is my least favorite track because, I had to get over my, my hatred. So now it'll be, next will be your turn. Now I'll get over it. Sonoma.
See, that's what's really becoming of these things. We only asked you this so we can come up with content for our fundraisers.
So we can torture you.
All right, I'll read one more and then I'll let you have the floor. Rob Hope sent in his 5 worst. He lists them backwards. So number 5 is Suzuka. Again, that's the second time I believe that we've seen Suzuka thus far. Number 4 is Donington. Number 3 is Lime Rock without the chicane. And then he puts in parentheses, cheats version. Smiley face. Number 2 is Phillip Island. I want to love it, but he just doesn't. And his number 1 most hated track, not really, but most non-favorite track anyways, is
Yeah.
the preferred way to say this, is Virginia International Raceway, the Grand West config.
Yeah, see, now I'm going to disagree with Rob on the Lime Rock without the chicane, because that chicane is like the devil. Like, yeah, like that chicane is just the most the evilest thing that they could put on a track. Like the track, I mean, we all have a lot of experience with it. Most of us do, because it's one of the ones that you spend a lot of time in when you're first getting your road license, up. But yeah, I mean, you travel up that hill. Your car is light. It's out of, it's off balance because the elevation changed, and you just came out of a corner, and then you get up to the top, and you have to turn a little bit more, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, your car is completely at its worst balance point. Now turn right really quick, and then left. It's like, oh, I hate that configuration of that track.
And notice that Sonoma was not on his list. So
Correct.
I commend you, Rob, for not putting it there.
So Brenton, who we've mentioned on the show a bunch as well, his number 1 is Laguna Seca. I don't know why, but this track is a jerk. I'm actually pretty good here, but I just don't like it for some reason. And didn't he win the race that we?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But of course, after he dumped me, so.
Well, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, man. I mean,
Yeah, well, some people win the race, fair and square. Others don't.
yeah. If only he'd apologized.
I mean, come on, Brenton.
Number 2 is Charlotte Road. Number 3 is Donington. I had a dud race here recently, and that soured my opinion of this track. Number 4 is Lime Rock with the chicane. It's really just the chicane that I hate. It's stupid. Well, Brenton,
He agrees with you.
like, he doesn't like Laguna Seca, and he thinks the chicane on Lime Rock is stupid. My boy.
Yeah, y'all are buddies.
And number 5 is Centripetal Circuit. The only thing I like about this track is that it's good for paints. Well, you're not supposed to be racing it, Brenton, so...
Just keep going in circles. Just keep going in circles.
I will skip the next one because I'll let you talk
Yes.
to that gentleman. Next, we have Mr. Danny Resser. He has listed, not necessarily in a particular order, but the first one is Summit Point, Jefferson. Racing on this track is like having a knife fight in a phone booth.
Best description ever.
Next is Silverstone. Sorry to all my UK friends. I realize it is an iconic circuit, but I find it flat and featureless. One turn looks just like the next. USA International. Uh-oh. Danny, we're going to have words, boy. USA International conjures up bad memories of being in rookie street stocks there. Hated it. Oh. All right. Now, back to, consensus. Sonoma. Hilly, but featureless. Just can't stand it. Well, he's got that right. I mean, I kind of like Sonoma, but he is right. Like, it's because it's just in the middle of, like, this desert thing. Like, it's just nothing but dirt and track. Like, it's either you're on the track or you're in just this brown, ugly dirt dust. So I'll agree with him on that one. And
now, this one I don't agree with him on. I'm going to have to speak with him about this privately out back in the alley.
so apparently, Danny, I don't know, man, you're not making friends among the crew here. Next is Kentucky. Did they even try to level the ground under the track? Bumpy tracks can be fun, but this is ridiculous. Tear it up and start again.
Yeah, see, now for years I thought Las Vegas was worse than Kentucky. Now I actually don't even care about either one because I actually like bumpy tracks. It's character, man. Character.
I could just see Chandler from Friends. Could you have any more bumps?
Now, I really don't agree with the second one in this next guy's list. He and I really got problems.
Well, are you looking at the list properly? Because if you're talking about James,
Yes, that's who I'm looking at.
yeah, but he has fave tracks and then he has least fave tracks, and there's only 2 in his least fave. See?
I know, but I still have a problem.
Okay. Well, his least favorite tracks, because we obviously already read his favorite tracks during that segment, or did we?
No, we didn't. This is new.
Okay, so a little bit late to the party. James Pratt. Favorite tracks are Charlotte, Bristol, Dover, Richmond, Talladega, and Watkins Glen. Least favorite tracks are Martinsville and
That's what I was referring to.
Sonoma.
What is up with Sonoma?
I don't know, man. People hate that place.
Why?
I don't know.
Next fun race, Sonoma. You're all going to be there, whether you like it or not. I had a
All
problem
right.
with not liking Martinsville. I didn't mean to say second. I should have said first, but yeah.
All right. And let's see. Here we go. Eric Mullinax. I will just read his email verbatim. He also has missed the favorite track, so he added in those as well. Hey, guys, big fan. Oh, thanks, Eric. I've been listening to your podcast for months
Don't
now.
ruin it.
I haven't submitted a favorite/least favorite track list because I'm still new and, well, haven't raced at many tracks or have the skill level to know if I simply hate a track or it's just me that sucks. I know that feeling, Eric. But I'd figure I'd cobble together a list. This is subject to change rapidly as I gain experience and compete on more tracks. Favorite tracks. USA International. See, now he's just sucking up to me. It's like, I've been listening for months. I love you guys. By the way, my favorite track is USA. Hey, Trevor.
Oh, no, I still like Canada. Yay.
Hey, short track ovals is his current forte, as it's where I found myself to be most comfortable and most successful. When starting in rookie street stock, USA was challenging at first. Once I figured it out, I found myself to be at the front of the pack. 3 of my 4 wins have come at USA. Again, kindred spirit. That's where half my wins have come, is at USA. I almost had a fifth win, but I forgot to take the tape off my grill after qualifying. Late models, whoops. My other win came at New Smyrna in the SK Modified, which is a very similar track to USA. When showing up in any car at USA, I'm like Chad at Bristol. I know I'm going to have a good race, and I know I'm going to be successful if I take the tape off the grill first.
That usually helps.
It does. I like short tracks. They're all fun and each have unique characteristics. Actually, yeah, the short tracks are a lot more unique than as opposed to the more cookie cutters when it comes to the 1.5 mile tracks. That's for sure. As I get more experience, I'm sure some will stand out more to me besides USA. Sorry, Trevor, I'm actually comfortable at Oxford Plains. Well, we went from just kind of pandering to the knowing the audience he was speaking to, and then it's like then he has to say he likes Oxford. Man. Speaking of Oxford, he says staying off the curbing on the inside and swing out a little on the straights, but not too far, subtly rounding off your straightaways. Oh, I know. It's just not fun, and it's a horrible, horrible place.
I like it. I'm with them on this one.
You're wrong. Number 2.
I think somebody's wrong here, but it's not me.
Number 2, Okayama. The first road track that I feel like I got, and felt competitive at. It's fairly easy to drive, yet challenging at the same time. I'm comfortable at Lime Rock, and it is fun as well, but everybody is fast there, it seems. Hint, future fun race, Legends at Lime Rock is awesome. That does sound like a good combination, actually. The Legends can be fun road courses, and if you're going to do something like that, it should be at a shorter track, and Lime Rock is probably a good combo.
Yeah. Something else that's fun is the old late model at Lime Rock as well.
Ah. Yeah, actually, that would be a lot of fun. Although I think the Legends would probably be a little bit nimbler, I guess. So, least favorite track, Laguna Seca. There you go. Now you're back in my good graces. Evil track. Turn 2 is going to be a hairpin. When you think you're through it, you're not. Off in the dirt you go as you try to accelerate off. Oh, I did that at least 3-4 times during the fun race, man. You need to go uphill for an elevation change on the Rahal Straight and don't want to lose much speed. Okay, turn 6 will make the corner just tight enough that you can't just sling the car into the corner and carry momentum. Sorry. And the corkscrew speaks for itself, along with the slippery turn 9 and 10 until you get to 11 and start it all over again. Yeah, that's Laguna Seca for you. And then I will read one last one, and then you can carry back over. Jens Nixdorf, hopefully I said that right, and they only send in one, and I like it. Centripetal circuit. Never had a good race at this circuit. I never had a good finish there, man. Nobody ever shows up. It's weird, but...
Wayne Flint is next on our list of not favorite tracks, and he says, sorry, but mine are not so direct as I think you were hoping for. They also relate more to road courses than ovals. Number 1, He does not like night races. Crazy low track temps causing uncontrollable slippage. Think of Motegi. Now, I can see what he's saying here because Motegi, now for me, if you race Motegi at the night, the only lights that you have are your headlights. So it can definitely make the races a little bit crazy. He then says tracks with, I'm assuming this is stupid, but he spells it differently. Off-track limits. Think of Spa, as Mr. Cameron was referring to there a few minutes ago in his story time.
Yep.
And he says he doesn't like all those 1Xs. Grr.
Yeah, and I'm with him on that because there's a couple places where it feels like that is the line you should be taking through that corner, but you're not. You have to cut it sharper than you could, kind of thing. So,
yep. Number 3, he wants or doesn't want, I guess. I don't know. We'll read and find out. More Aussie/New Zealand tracks. It's just not a valid V8 supercar series till we have them all. Well, at least more of the most famous ones. And oh my gosh, I can't read some of these. Adelaide, I don't know. Sundown, Winton, Puka, Holkalaka, Luka, Lika, Luka. Puke. Pukalahole. Gold Coast, Hidden Valley, but how can you find it? Sydney Motorsports Park, Eastern Creek in parentheses, Barbagala, maybe, and Cinnamons. Let's go with that. Plains. I'm just kidding.
Simons, man.
I know. Have fun pronouncing some of those. Yes, thank you.
And we did.
Yes, we always have fun pronouncing stuff. He also mentions Long Beach, number 4. He really wants iRacing to finish it, use it as a tester to then move on to other iconic street courses, like, for example, Monaco, so we can all crash and burn.
Yeah, man.
I add that in there, by the way.
Oh, Monaco, man. That would just be a disaster on iRacing, but
yes,
it would be so much fun.
Number 5, any rolling start road race where the track is too wide, allowing those further back to get a big jump, particularly on the poor guy in second starting position, thinking of Bonza. Please, iRacing, make it to where there's no passing before crossing the start line. Surely that's an easy rule to code, and it's black and white for us racers. I also think it could help clean up some of those Turn 1 crash fest. So again, a little bit different, not specifically with tracks. Scott McCann, next. My not favorite track is Indianapolis. I love racing there, but the killer is pace laps. Could fall asleep under caution.
Absolutely true.
Agreed. Not quite sure how I should pronounce this next name. Let's see. Huso. There's 2 U's. And then Hiatala.
Hayatala, I think is how I would say that, but anyway, that's just me.
Okay, well, I don't know. Sorry about that. He says, let me preface my least favorite track choices by saying that he is mainly a road racer focusing on the GT3 stuff. Number 1, which makes sense to me, a little bit anyways, Twin Ring Motegi. It's like someone, I love this explanation.
Yeah, I know.
It's like someone designed a track that could only do 90-degree turns. He then could not get it to line up, so someone else came along and filled in all the gaps. These gaps are the only interesting corners in the tracks, or on the track. Number 2 is Barber Motorsports Park. Pretty fun for hot lapping, hard for racing, at least in GT cars. No space at all for passing. Number 3 is Alton Park. Same reason as Barber. See option 2. Number 4, Homestead Miami Road Course B was on the GT3 schedule last season, the only track that he flat out refused to drive, period.
No, just no.
End of discussion. That now completes all of your not-so-favorite tracks except for one, which I will read real quick, and that is Roy Clark. His track or list of tracks that he doesn't particularly care for is Suzuka. Again, Suzuka on there a lot too. It kind of surprises me. I kind of think that's fun. Zolder, I have a problem with Roy on that one. And Silverstone, to a lesser extent, I just can't find a good rhythm. although he spelled rhythm horribly wrong on these tracks. I had to call him out on that. Oxford is, or excuse me, back up. Oxford, how is this a racetrack?
It's like a
I'm
car
assuming
park
he
with
says
tires.
it's like, but he put i5. So I guess he wants an i5 core processor, is what I'm getting out of this. Like a car park with tires, as Trevor said. Then he says, okay, now for the hate mail, Daytona Oval. Yes, I get the strategy, but someone makes a mistake or someone touches you in the wrong way, race over. Some of these words are great. Roy,
Yeah.
please do spell check.
Roy, please do not
For-
consume lots of beer before emailing us in the future.
yeah, get out of your pool and please correctly spell
Maybe
check.
that was it. He was trying to spell on his iPhone while he was in that
Sure.
wonderful pool he showed us there to
I'm
mock
I'm
me.
gonna I'm gonna try to read this like he spelled it. Foyt flat to thaw. Floor is not racing. So there you go. I'm assuming that means flat, foot flat to the floor is not racing.
Yeah.
Anyways, then he says all complaints to ratface@gmail.com is what I'm pretty sure that says.
That's not what that says at all.
Um, I, he says that I love the race
Of course.
curse. I know that's not what that says. Course is what he was trying to say. Goal is to win.
Well, we
But
haven't
that's
got to the
something
goal
else.
section yet.
I know, but I just wanted to say win.
Oh, well,
So,
there you go.
anyways, that's Roy's not so favorite tracks, along with some fantastic grammar.
Isn't it though?
I know. We had to call him out because we love Roy. Now, that only leaves me and Trevor on our not so favorite tracks, and I will go first. This was a little bit difficult for me because most of the tracks that I have been to on iRacing, I actually really do like. There was a track that you guys know, and for those of you that have listened to the show for a very long time, you would know that I absolutely could not stand with a big, severe passion. I could not stand Las Vegas. That track has now been removed because I've actually figured out what the flip you do there and have become quite successful at that track recently. So I've actually kind of liked it more lately. So it's actually not on my list. Would have been 2 years ago, but now it's kind of moved itself off of that list. So then I tried to think of some tracks that I just don't particularly like going to. This does not mean that I hate them or completely skip them when they're on the schedule.
Yeah. See, I had to encourage him. He was like,
Yes.
"Well, I can't think of any." It's like, okay, well, I'm not saying you hate the tracks. I mean, but you've got to have tracks that you like the least. You might still like them, but
Yes. Yeah, so these are tracks that I kind of like, but yet, I'm not so much looking forward to on their schedule when they are on the schedule. And these are not in any order. I don't really care. But the first one that I'll say is Rockingham. It's a track that I actually do kind of like racing, but at the same time, I don't know. Like iRacing's version is, I mean, obviously it's realistic, but I don't know. Like I can't figure out exactly how to just flat out enjoy it. Every other video game I've ever tried Rockingham in, I've always loved it. So that one I kind of put there because I don't know that it's big on my list when I go there. The road course, specifically at Monza. Now, I have never actually been in a race at this, but I have practiced it a few times, and I don't know what they were doing with all those chicanes. I don't even know if you would call them a chicane, but yeah, it's like a death trap.
turn now, turn again, turn.
And crash. So because of that, I really don't want to do a race there and may not ever. The next one is Thompson. And again, kind of like Rockingham, I actually do like racing there, but it's not I don't know. There's just something about it that doesn't totally click with me. Where I feel 100% comfortable. So I feel out of place, I guess, at Rockingham and at Thompson. So I kind of put it there that it's not exactly my favorite one to go to. And the last one, which is weird for me to say because I have a grand total of 2 starts at this racetrack, and both times completely different scenarios, like a year away from each other. The starts were both times I finished 4th with 0 incidents and actually ran really well, all things considering, but I just can't totally get into a rhythm here. I got close before, but, just can't quite get there. And that is Concord.
Boo.
And one day, maybe I'll go back there and race and I might think differently, but I've only been there twice. And both times I was like, this is weird. I don't know what I'm doing. And yet still ended up with 2 fourth place finishes. And that's the only time I've ever been there. So I don't really look forward to that one, I guess, too much. So that's my list. I only came up with 4. And again, I kind of like all of them, but not so much as the others.
Right. All right. So on to me. Well, a lot of this should not be surprises if you're long-term listeners. No particular order. First one, Laguna Seca. I hate that track. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Maybe one of these days I will get good at it. Like I said, it's not even, I don't like it. It's just the fact that I have never been able to successfully get into a rhythm there. And like, I do every corner on that track wrong, and that can be frustrating. I do the corkscrew wrong. I do at the bottom of the corkscrew, that thing where it looks like you can go fast, but you can't really, and that, that left-hander, I'm off in the dirt on the right. And then, then I look like I'm entering the pits when I'm entering the second to last corner because I'm always off in the dirt over there. And, that last corner, I'm either missing it completely or 4-wheel drifting through it to make that corner, the last corner before that straight stretch. And that whole, after you go up over the hill and you're going down the hill with the pit lane off to your side, and then, that just gets stupid. And, that's mentioned by somebody, as well before, you're kind of like, okay, hit the corner. It's like, okay, but the corner keeps going. So even though you thought you were done, you're not done. Oh, look, dirt. And also stupidest pit exit in the sim. Like, what they'd say, I don't know. It's like,
but cones.
You can kind of come up to speed here. It's like, okay, now slam on the brakes and, pull a sharp, bloody turn to the left and then just kind of spit you out into traffic. Like, it's stupid. Next would be Darlington. Probably not a popular choice because I know it is an iconic track. I enjoy watching races there, but I have never yet done anything of success at that track. And the fact that there's all of this track surface and you're only allowed to use this tiny little bit is just stupid and frustrating to me. I've always been horrible at that track. No matter what I do, I cannot get that track figured out. And a lot of that is probably because I've never been good at wall riding. Like, I cannot do that. Like, I don't have the skills to be able to drive that close to the wall and not hit it. Like, I have a wall magnet on my car. It's like, oh, well, since you're here, why don't we just rub up against it for a little bit?
There, little Trevor.
I had the list. I wrote it out. Now I'm gonna have to try to remember it off by heart here. Next would be Road Atlanta, and that is just because, again, one of those tracks that I've never been able to get to the rhythm for. Now, I mean, that might change now that I've become a little bit better at racing. I haven't actually been there for a while, but yeah, I've never got the rhythm of that track. It's always bugged me. Like I said, I think we go there in the Indy Series. I'm not sure, so maybe I'll have to learn it, and maybe I can. But yeah, not so much. So, man, I wish I brought my list down. So that was Laguna Seca, Road Atlanta, Darlington. Oh, of course, number 4 with a bullet, Oxford. Stupid track. None of that track makes sense. Like the only thing that's fun about that track is jumping over those dirt mounds around the poles and trying to find the places in the track, where you can disappear off the, edge of the world. Yeah, that track is not fun to race on at all. Some people, like short track people, love it. And, it's okay. Good for you. I agree with one of the other listeners. I would love to watch a race there, but actually going and racing it, nah, forget about it. Hated it. Anytime it came up in our schedule with STPC, no, STPC. Yeah, okay, I got it right that time. I dreaded it. Just hated it. Could not. Oh man. And fifth, I had to struggle for the fifth one, and I actually did put down initially Sobo, just because out of all the short tracks, South Boston was the one that I always, I don't know, because back when you're first learning stuff, you spend a lot of time going back and forth between South Boston and Lanier, and Lanier was always by far my favorite of the two. So, South Boston, I don't know, it was just something about that track. I never felt comfortable there, even though I raced a bunch there. But I think I'm actually going to take South Boston off the list and give it a reprieve and put in, because somebody else had it on their list and it reminded me, it's like, oh yeah, I hate that place. And that would be, and Chad's not going to like this one, New Hampshire. I do not like that side. I mean, and it's not even the fact that it's a flat track, because I like Martinsville, but New Hampshire has just always been a bad one for me. Like, I have never got a good rhythm going with New Hampshire, and every time I go there, I've had bad experiences. So I will say New Hampshire is my fifth.
That hurts.
And we've got a write in here. The Underbreak, TUB on Twitter, said Laguna Seca and Coda for him. Texas and Charlotte on oval. Can't seem to figure out the D-shaped quad ovals. Well, then your oval career is going to be a bad one if the D-shaped quad ovals are giving you problems. Well, most of the large oval tracks are that, and perhaps Gateway as well. Anyway, that I think concludes our least favorite tracks. So let's get to our goals moving forward. Get those done. These will be a little quicker. And why don't you start, Mr. Chad?
All right, so James Pratt, his goal before he retires from the iRacing simulation would be to make it to the pro level on the oval side and run in the pro season. I'm assuming he means to compete in the Peak Antifree series, so the top level, which would be cool. So that's a very good goal, and good luck on trying to make that, James. Jens Nixdorf, I guess is how we're supposed to pronounce that, says that his final goal before he quit iRacing would be, he says that I love iRacing because it lets me do motorsports without the risk of hurting myself, unless, of course, your name is Trevor. So I don't plan to quit. Anyways, because iRacing is more like a very welcome contrast to my job, and then he puts in parentheses, besides family, friends, and sports, I am not dedicated, but gaining an IR over 2,000 is probably my goal. I'm assuming maybe that's on the road, or the oval, or both. I don't know. Wayne Flint says that he would like to make the top split in the V8 Supercar Series in the Australian server, or well, not so much the servers, but the Australian strength of field race. The highest strength of field races for a whole season, not just one time, but for the whole season. It's a stretch, he says, but what self-respecting Aussie Bogan wouldn't have this as their biggest iRacing goal. Don't know what that means.
We'll have to ask our team.
Yeah, it's an Australian term. Hopefully, I didn't just say the worst word ever.
It turns out you've just insulted all of our Australian
I
listeners.
know. Hopefully, by the time that he achieves it, iRacing will have the V8 Supercar Pro Series, which would be cool, so that he gets to compete, or excuse me, rather achieve his ultimate goal of gaining a pro license as well. And he says, "I can dream, can't I?" And then he sticks his tongue out of us. As for quitting iRacing, never, and how dare you even mention it?
Apparently, Bogan is like a redneck in the U.S., so is the Australian
Oh,
version of a redneck. So,
well, then I don't feel too bad.
and that makes sense. That actually fits
Yes.
with what we're seeing here. So, all right. So Scott McCann says, my goal before I quit iRacing would be to race in the Peak Antifreeze Series. Not even win it, just be able to race in it. I think that's that is a decent and reasonable goal. Yuso Haitala, we are so sorry. Personally, my goal was to win a GT3 race, but I did that last season. Now my goal is to get into the BES Pro Series. We were 79th last season. That's one of the endurance series. We were 79th.
Endurance.
Yeah, the Blancpain. We were 79th last season, so me and my team have some work to do. Jeff McPherson says to be racing at the front rather than surviving at the back, and then a lot of creepy smiley faces. If this was when I started this
And
5
we
years
should
ago,
follow him on Twitter.
yes, if this was when I started 5 years ago, I would have said Alien. One of the super fast top drivers, but very quickly I realized that I was never going to be that good. So now the ambition is just to be competitive with maybe the odd win and season championship thrown in. The team feature has added a new dimension to this game and would be an ambition to win one of the big team events. The Daytona 24, the Le Mans 24, the Nürburgring 24, Sebring 12, etc., etc. Yeah, I like Wendy Surratt or Sarrett. Plain and simple. My iRacing goal is to complete a series and actually be competitive. That is, you know what? That is a admirable goal.
Yes. Go for it.
And Roy Clark. Goal is to win a championship at a B license and then an A license level. Same. I did want to win V8 supercars.
You got to get out of that pool, dude.
Race, but I won't. I did want to win V8 supercars. Race, but I won't talk about it. Thanks for a great show and the hard work you guys both put in. See, you can say that right. When you get to the compliment section, Roy's all like, "Oh, and by the way, thanks, guys. Love the show." See, I think we got to that point because he wanted me to say, because the Canadians say, about funny. So maybe he's
gosh.
mocking me about
This has
it.
been the greatest thing we've ever done.
So,
Oh, I'm laughing so hard I'm crying.
so Chad, what is your goal, sir? Or should I take this while you take a knee here?
No, I can recover pretty well. I don't know. Maybe you should go ahead and read. I might start laughing again.
All right. I thought about this, and my goal. I have a few, I guess. And
Whoa! This is only one goal here.
oh, yeah. Sorry, we're on your data. We're on your data cap. I mean, yeah. my data limit can't handle your goals. My goal would be I want to get my I rating on both the road and the oval side to a comparable level, both kind of equalish, and enough to get me in Division 1 on both sides. Like I want to be that's become kind of my goal since I started this IndyCar thing, is to be equally good on both the road and the oval side. And Division 1, be in that top tier when it comes to my I rating. Also, I would like to I'd like to win one of the big events. I would like to win, a Daytona 500. I'd like to win an Indy 500. I'd like to win one of those, and particularly if I can do it when I get the I rating, so I'm up in one of the higher splits, is where I'd like to be. My immediate goal is, holy crap, I need to get my I rating on the roadside high enough so I stop ending up in just the bottom split of all these races, because there's all these points up for offer in that top split that Josh is hanging out in, and I'm just picking up the table scraps in the back and fighting to get 50 points where it's like, I don't know, I finished 10th and got 70 points, and it's like so I've got to at least get my I rating high enough so I can do that. That's the immediate goal, but my long term are the Division 1 and win a big one of the big events is what I'd like.
And my goal, I've already done a lot more than I ever thought I would do on the sim, but there's one goal that I've had since the beginning, and it's just a personal, special one that if I can pull it off would be awesome, and I've almost done it already, actually, a couple of times, in fact. But I would love to win 3 races in the same week or same weekend. And the cars in particular would be the NASCAR Truck Series machine, and then the NASCAR Xfinity Series, or the B car, and the NASCAR Sprint Cup car. I would like to take those 3 and win in the same week/weekend, depending on the schedule, at Bristol. The whole, like when Kyle Busch did it in NASCAR, and those of you that don't follow NASCAR,
I was gonna say you want to pull a Kyle Busch is what you want to do.
yes, and I was there for that. That was one of the coolest things ever, especially because he was driving a Toyota for all 3, so I was really pumped about that. But just seeing that feat accomplished, and then at Bristol of all places, it wasn't like he won all 3 races at Talladega. He won all 3 at Bristol. That's pretty remarkable. And just seeing that was really cool. But for me personally, you guys know I love Bristol, and it's my all-time favorite track. And so that would be like the ultimate cool thing for me. It may sound silly, but I would just be grinning ear to ear. That would trump like almost everything I've done on the sim if I could do that, just because it's such a meaningful place to me. So like I said, I've come close. I think I participated in the triple in the same week or weekend 3 times on the sim, and the first time that I ever did it, excuse me, I think I finished 4th in the truck race, which was on a Thursday night, and then I won the B race on the Friday night, and then I won the Cup race on Sunday night. The truck race, I just didn't have the speed for whatever reason. So I was close, but not quite there. The next time that I went there, I won the truck race pretty handily, got wrecked out very early in the B race, and then dominated the Cup race. And then the third time I got there, the third time was the first time that I was like truly focused on it. The first 2 times I was like, well, we'll just see how this goes, because I wasn't sure. I was still kind of finding my way around with the competition, and so I wasn't sure how well it would go. But then I ended up, getting 2 out of the 3 both times. And the third time, I was like, okay, I know I can do this. Let's do it now. And I didn't win a single race, so that didn't work out too well. So, and I haven't been that's been at least 2 years ago. So I haven't tried it for a while. Now I don't care how I do this. I don't care if it's in a league or an official series. But one day I'm gonna attempt it again and see if I can pull it off.
Cool. That is that's a unique goal, that relates out to real world racing. So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish you all the luck, sir. Especially the combination of Bristol being, of course, your quote unquote home track, so to speak. It's you watch so many races there and you spend a lot of time there and stuff. So that would definitely be a special place to pull that off at.
Yeah, it's the only track I want to pull it off at. I mean, I'll take it at other tracks, but it's the track I would like to get it done at.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for everybody who took the time to send those in. We got, as you can see, we got a lot of responses, some great responses. thank you so much for participating in this little game that we put on. It's it was a lot of fun reading some of those, and as you can see going through, I mean, it was interesting to see, a lot of tracks that made it on people's favorite list, made it on other people's least favorite, list, and vice versa, and like I said, me and Chad would say, like, people would show, their least favorite track is something that would show up on, our favorite track. I mean, heck, even me and Chad, I mean, one that showed up on my favorite list showed up on Chad's least favorite. But it's cool to just kind of see that difference between the way that people, handled the sim.
Yeah, and the same thing with me. I had Darlington on I think it was my fourth favorite, and you had it on your dislike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. And it's, like I said, it's interesting to see that, that difference between the way people, what people think and what they do on the sim. That's why we do the poll questions. We do all these things just to kind of, just to see how people are doing things differently on the sim. So that's always cool to see. So thank you very much for participating in that. That was that was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
Now
send us pictures of your cockpit.
Yes, please. And then we'll have that special, we don't know how we're going to pull it off, video episode when we do that.
We'll wing it.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's on me. See, Chad can come up with the ideas, and it's like, all right, I thought of this great idea. Figure out how to pull it off. Okay.
Yes, sir.
But with all of that being said, we've given you a couple of really long shows in a row, back to back here. So hopefully that'll get you through the cold winter months while we take a bit of a break here. I'll still be obviously doing the winter races, and we'll still be active on Twitter. So keep interacting with us over there, or watch for my streams of the Winter Series races over the next couple weeks here. But the show will be on hiatus for a couple weeks while we spend some time with our families and whatnot. So there'll be no show next week or the week following at that, and we'll be back on January the 7th in 2016. Guaranteed that I say 2015 when we do the introduction of the show. I am already calling that one. And now Chad will probably put it in the show notes just to make sure I do. But just wanted to, before we let you guys go, just wanted to say a big thanks to you guys. I know we say it all the time, but this has been a great year for us at the show. We've picked up a ton of new listeners and a ton of new people who have been interacting with us and talking with us and sending stuff in and racing with us, and it's just been a fabulous year, better year than I could have imagined for this show. And with some great interviews, we had Tony on the show and Nim and Glenn. It's just been fabulous. Like, this show has done so much better than I ever thought it could, and I am so thankful for you guys out there helping us along with that. So I just wanted to say, thanks to everybody. I hope you have a great holiday season, however you celebrate it. Hopefully you have some time off work and some time to just kind of chill out with family and friends and have some fun. So happy holidays to everybody out there. Thank you for everything you do for us, and we hope to see you back in 2016. And now Chad says... Chad says, yeah, what he said.
Chad says, thanks to all of you for listening. Is this reverse roll?
Oh, no, I just thought.
I'm only kidding. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's pretty awesome, the interviews we had this year. And obviously, interviewing Tony Gardner for just Trevor and I's pleasure is, only so much fun. So having all of you guys and girls out there to listen to it and to give you your feedback definitely makes doing those a lot cooler and a lot more significant.
Yep.
So we do appreciate all the listening, interacting, and everything you do, and help spreading the word around with logos you run on your cars or just general chit-chat with people about it. Keep it going, and like Trevor said, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you on not July.
No, not that long of a break.
Actually, what I'm going to do now in the show notes, I'm going to put July 7th, 2015. That's what I'm going to do. In January is what I meant to say.
Yes. But with all of that being said, thanks to everybody out there for listening. We really do appreciate it. Remember, the show is available for download on iTunes under the podcast section. We would really appreciate a review to help us get the word out if you haven't done so already. The show is also archived on YouTube under Ratface Productions and It's Cadillac. Remember, of course, you can check out the website for live shows when we have them. Information, archives, links, and of course, boy, those polls that we mention all the time, and there's one currently active that we'll talk about in January when we come back. And that is all over on our website, which is iRacingTodayRadio.com. And please follow us on Twitter to keep up to date with everything that's going on with us over the holidays. And I am at I am at iRacing Today. Wow, it's been a long show, man. I've been talking a lot.
This is the reverse. I got it right. I was supposed to read your part.
That's me, and that Yahoo over there is at It's Cadillac.
You can email any questions, comments, and poll suggestions that you may have to feedback@iRacingTodayRadio.com. And of course, that's where you need to send your pictures of your cockpits with some specs of what you got. Feel free to add myself and Trevor as friends on iRacing. And if you aren't yet a member and you think for Christmas you're going to join up, well, welcome. And please take the time to refer either Trevor or myself in the referral box when you are signing up. Trevor's email is ratface@gmail.com and mine is iRacingLegend@gmail.com. But until January the 7th, 2016, ladies and gentlemen, remember that the race is never won in the first turn.
But it is often lost there. Merry Christmas and good night, everybody.